This podcast is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to help expand our programming, head to patreon.com/talkstarwars and become a TSW patron. You'll receive exclusive podcasts, access to a VIP Facebook group, monthly prize draws, Facebook live sessions, and much, much more. Head to patreon.com/talkstarwars and become a TSW patron today, and the Force will be with you always. This is Talk Star Wars, the official podcast of talkstarwars.co.uk. Hello everybody, welcome back to Talk Star Wars episode 91. I'm Mark.
I'm Stephen, partially.
I'm Rob.
And I'm Paul.
Sorry, I didn't realise we'd actually started.
Yeah. Stephen's not partially Stephen. Stephen is completely Stephen, but only for part of the show. Do you want to tell? Do you want to explain why, Steve?
Oh, everyone's gonna hate me. I don't know. Right,
okay.
I'm making an effort to go in dry. Rob,
Dark.
hello.
Dark, I think you mean.
Rob, that was like the best one ever, and you didn't do anything.
I just did it.
Oh, okay, no worries.
Don't worry. In post, I'll bring you up in the mix there, Rob.
What is your damage?
I'm trying. I haven't watched the trailer. I did look at it briefly. Tapped the screen a few times on the right to go forward about 40 seconds. Saw the button. Kylo's finger over the button. Saw Leia's face and thought, don't want to watch anymore. I'd already read an article from the director saying, you know, if you don't want to ruin it, don't watch it. But then I know it could be misdirection, and I know there's a whole plethora of reasons to watch it. But if I'm to enjoy it as much as I can, I'm going to try and go in like a virgin.
Okay. Well, I admire that, Steve, in a way.
I do.
Yeah.
It's kind of sweet.
I think it's interesting.
Yeah, right.
Especially when you're on a Star Wars podcast. It's very interesting.
To be fair, if there's anybody who can avoid the internet somehow, it's Steve. So there's that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what Gran would say to that, Steve?
Who, sorry?
Gran. What a load of old shh.
Oh, I'd never watched that show. I know you mean, but I've never watched it.
All right. Okay, let's get into some thank yous. And so what we're going to do is going to do thank yous, reviews, one bit of listener comms, then Steve's going to jump out and we're going to do the trailer breakdown. So thank yous at the top of the show as usual. So I'm going to say thank you to Stephen Groutage. Is that a good pronunciation of his second name?
Groutage.
Groutage.
Yeah, I was bouncing on.
Why is it you've remembered the N on his name and I've got 91 episodes in and I've still got mine without the N?
Because no one cares. And he's a VIP.
Ouch.
Thank you to Stephen Groutage for becoming a TSW patron this week. Greatly appreciated. We've also got a review from him this week. Spoilers.
Oh.
And thanks to Mike Messalani, our friend, for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Thank you, Mike.
Nice.
Thank you to Anthony Nardo and Paul Duval. I'm reading two things at the same time. Yeah, you would think. Thank you both for liking the Facebook page this week. And finally, a huge thank you to Stephen over at Roku Depot for the generous reviews this week, not just of the main Talk Star Wars show, but of the daily podcast too. Very complimentary,
yes, I think doing that.
And that that sort of encouragement is greatly received. Thank you very, very much indeed. All right, let's move into reviews. I really want to get to this trailer breakdown. I've been waiting for this all week. Reviews. Don't forget you can take advantage of the Ron Burgundy policy, which means that whatever you write in a 5-star review, I will read verbatim as long as it's clean. So if you want to promote something like your own podcast or a blog, that's where to do it. There's only one rule, which is keep it clean. 2 people have taken advantage of that this week. Stephen, you're going to read the first one, I think.
God. Am I doing this now?
Oh, no, let's give it 20 minutes.
We'll wait a week. It's fine. Yeah.
It's not like you've just eaten and you want to go swimming, Steve. It's a review.
No, I don't know. I need to prepare for some madness. It makes me look sane. This is from Ajaj from Australia. Oh, there's your answer.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. It's from Ajaj from Australia on iTunes. Okay, and it reads thusly. I stole Rob's thusly.
Oh, to hell with you.
Fantastic. 5 stars. No. Hold on. Steve. Okay. I'm choosing Flupple. Wait. Yep. Flupple up. Wait. Greavy.
There was only one person on this podcast who could have possibly read that and done it any justice. And
Shame he didn't read it.
And we chose Steve.
Yep.
Okay.
I have no idea what that means.
That is bizarre, but it's not AJ. It's not their first review. We've had a few of these previously.
I think they're taking the P155 in Leet speak.
Possibly, and it's not who we think from Australia either.
No?
No.
Okay.
I did some research.
Oh, different convict.
Yeah. Oh, Stephen, you can't say that. Right. Okay.
Most of them are just descendants.
This next review is from Stephen, who's our new patron, Stephen Grotage.
Another N.
Do we want
The
to
man
do
with the ever-changing pronunciation.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to cover all the bases, Rob. Do we want to
fair enough.
do we want to do this in a round robin, Rob? Because I think there's an exchange here, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. Fine. I'll do. I could jump in on this.
Yeah. So I'll do the Anakin pieces, and you do the Palpatino pieces.
Do you want me to Palpatine or Palpacino? Pick one.
Dealer's choice, sir. Dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice.
Ooh-ah. All right. So this is a 5-star review. It's entitled "Long Time Listener / Lurker." Okay, I'm in. I'm just preparing. I'm trying to zero out for my performance.
All right.
What have I done?
You are fulfilling your destiny.
I'll do anything you ask.
Oh, good.
I pledge myself to your teachings.
Good. The force is strong with you. A powerful Sith you'll become. Oh.
And scene.
Mark, who were you?
Where was I? I know, I
Were
disappeared.
you Watto in that scene?
I disappeared. Excellent.
I'm sorry.
Perhaps we should have an alternate take for this in case that doesn't work out.
No, you leave it in there. It's concrete.
It's done. Yep. Thank you. That's the idea behind these things. So awesome. Thank you, Stephen. Right. Listener comms. We've got one piece of listener comms that isn't shaped like the trailer. So we're going to get this done and then Stephen can bail out if he decides to do so. How are you feeling, Steve? Have you decided to stay or go?
No, I have to go. I can't,
Okay.
I've got to stick to my convictions.
Okie doke. Right, let's get into this one lightsaber piece of listener comms then. So you can send your questions and comments via Twitter or Facebook, or send us an email or an MP3 as a voicemail to talkstarsinfo@gmail.com to be included in the show. We've had a lot of feedback this week. It's been first class. So thank you very much to everyone who has participated. And this is from James Weibel. He says, if red crystals are bled by the Sith, did Mace partially bleed his to make it purple? Or did the crystal call to him because it and he weren't solely light side? From James. So could Mace have bled his kyber crystal to give it that purple hue, or to 5 it that purple hue as a spell check?
Is it
Falcon.
fact that crystals are bled by the Sith? Is it
It
fact?
is. It is indeed.
Canon.
It is canon.
Mm.
It's
Canon.
Okay.
Yes.
So could this be partially
no.
bled?
Right, see you later.
Okay.
Okay.
So why is Yoda's green and why is most others?
Yeah. Thank
So
you, Paul.
What causes the
I was
colour
gonna
hue
say
for
green.
It's
the
only
other sides?
It's only the Sith that bleed the crystals.
Okay, so
Yeah,
all right,
not
so
the Jedi.
blue versus
Okay.
green. What causes the colour differential between those?
The crystals are blue and green to begin with.
Simple as
Yeah,
that.
at the
I think
moment,
so.
So
that's
if you had a-
the best understanding.
So if I had a green crystal and cracked it, it would still bleed. Or what colour was the crystal prior to being
sorry.
bled?
So to be clear, the bleeding is not a biological thing. It's an act. That is
I thought
like
you were breaking. I thought they were
a
cracking it
will.
initially.
No, it's a will that's imposed upon the crystal by the Sith.
Okay, now do I feel naive?
No, not at all. No, that's what this is about. People need, if they don't read the comic books, you're not going to get this. But if you do, if you're a Sith, you defeat
No,
a
I'm
Jedi and you defeat a Jedi
What
and
are
you
you
take
talking
their
about?
You
crystal.
doth protest too much, Steve.
Yeah, and then you force
Ridiculous.
that crystal to bend to your will. That's the act of bleeding it, and it fights back. It's sentient enough to sort of fight back and try and talk the Sith down. But when they do break that crystal's will and bend it around to them, it bleeds red and becomes the crimson blade that the Sith use, and then it's completely lost to them. And it's only when a Jedi can restore that, like Ahsoka, that she restores the crystal to its base form, which is clear, so the blades are white. So I think it's a really interesting theory from James that perhaps Mace partially bled it.
I don't know that. I don't know.
Well,
I mean, it's difficult, isn't it? Without knowing whether or not they occur naturally in purple.
Well, there's a background story to this one, though, isn't there?
How do you mean?
From Sam Jackson himself.
Yeah, production wise, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to tell you what it is.
I was sort of hoping you would.
Yeah.
Sam Jackson, basically, he sat back and he watched all the films and so on, and he basically said to George Lucas, I don't want the same colour lightsaber as everybody else. I want a purple one. And he was given it. That's it.
Yeah. And the idea, the rationale is that...
It kind of takes the romance out of it, doesn't it?
The set piece where Mace was in the mix with the other Jedi, Sam didn't think that he would be noticed.
Stand out. Yes.
So he had the purple blade, and then you go straight to him in that melee. You go straight to that character and you find him and see what he's up to. Whereas everyone else is a sea of blue and green.
Mm.
So I like the idea that it may be...
No, I do. It's actually far more romantic.
I think this is a perfect example of where the fans have better ideas than what actually happened in real life.
In this case.
Yeah, but that's what Star Wars is, isn't it? It's almost like crowdsourced storytelling. Like we take an idea that was made casually, like JJ spoke with Johnny Ive, and Johnny Ive said, I never thought the lightsabers should be smooth, they should always be jagged. And JJ was like, all right, jagged it is. And then they did that, and we've made up this thing about it. So this Pablo gave...
In which film was that? Was that in Short Circuit 1 or 2?
Goodness me.
What did you say, Johnny 5?
Johnny Ive from Apple.
Oh,
the designer.
Johnny 5.
No, Johnny Ive from Apple. He gave JJ advice about the design of the lightsabers, and it became that jagged blade. And then Pablo sort of expanded on that and said it's a jagged blade because it's a cracked crystal.
Crystal.
It was like reverse engineered back to a story. Now we've taken that a lot further with our theories on this podcast. Whether or not any of that will stick, or whether or not somebody else has had that idea in a position of influence, we don't know. But
so, can I ask another question?
Please do.
The Darksaber.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because that's it's not actually a Darksaber as such. It's more like a white. It's like the eclipse total. The ring effect on the eclipse. It's like a totally blacked out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
beam, but it's actually got a really, really fine white edge, isn't it? Which gives it the impression that it's actually a Darksaber. Would that be correct?
What do you know about that, Rob? Is the white outline? Is that like the event horizon, and the black is an absolute lack of colour?
I don't know, to be honest. That one, that's beyond my understanding. Let me consult.
Yeah, I think it's
with your friend Google.
Yes. Well, Wikipedia, the bastion of all reliable Star Wars. Well, not all reliable Star Wars knowledge, but most of it. Let's have a look. And
again, is it crystal related?
It's just called black. It just says black bladed.
Yeah, I don't
anything about.
I don't think there's a crystal in there, but I think it's like
Are
that
there
metal.
Any white lightsabers, Mark?
Yeah,
no, it does have a crystal.
There's 2.
There are.
Oh, it does have
there
a crystal,
are.
Does it, Rob?
Yeah, apparently so.
Because Snoke has a black crystal on his ring, doesn't he? In Last Jedi.
Ah.
A black crystal.
He said
pinky ring. Before we get carried away.
That's a spoiler right there.
Let's before we get too carried away and we lose our thread of James' question.
Ring.
Do we think what's our gut feeling? Do we think Mace partially bled this crystal, or do you think it's just a curio that most of the Jedi get blue and green, but he just happened to be called by...
Well, I feel like I owe James an apology now because put in such a dull production kind of back element to it. That's the thing, because what he's suggesting is actually quite cool.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to publicly apologise to James. Sorry.
I'm going to have a look and see if there's a...
Yeah, see if there's a canon answer. I'm
just going to have a look.
I don't think that Mace would have bled this, and I don't. It would obviously be a retcon.
Yeah,
and I don't think that they would retcon that into being, because it reframes Mace Windu and his motivations if we think that he walks both sides of the line, and if that's going to become an element of The Last Jedi, this existing between light and dark side, then it might weaken that position when you consider Mace's ultimate fate. If walking both sides of light and dark make you stronger, With Mace Windu, not so much.
Mm.
So I just call him Mace Windu.
Yeah,
because he does sound like a window cleaner.
he did go out of.
He went out
That's
of a
why the
window.
Jawas are talking about him all the time.
He went
Here
out of
comes
a
the window
yeah.
cleaner.
I heard that
Every
this
time
week.
Mace walks in the room.
I watched Star Wars this week, Paul, and I thought of you when I heard that. Here comes the window
Thank you
cleaner.
very much.
Here comes the window cleaner.
And Mace Windu walks in.
Rob, is there
And-
anything canon?
There is no canon. They just refer to it as an amethyst blade. So
Okay.
yeah,
James,
I'd be inclined to think it's just
a natural colour.
He just managed to find an unusual natural crystal.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's quite an unusual character. Because he's extremely lightsaber proficient, and he invents forms of his own.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But are all the actual crystals clear? Even though the blade colours obviously dependent on whatever factors we're talking about, but the actual crystals themselves are always clear, right?
Well, that's
No.
that's what we saw. That's what we saw in Rogue One, wasn't it? Every crystal we saw in Rogue One, they were taking from Jeddah was clear, but that doesn't mean that maybe the Jedi are called by these lightsabers because they're more suitable to being used in weaponry than these larger ones. So maybe we haven't learned enough about them yet. I don't think.
Well, they were green when they came out of the Death Star. The beam is green, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they're using those clear crystals, but they're not bad. That's what I mean. Surely the Death Star is inherently bad, as in aligned with Sith. So why isn't it red or t'other colour?
Well, the crystals haven't been bled to make them red.
No. So wouldn't it have more of a negative effect if they had? A horrible effect.
I think I'm right in saying there are two crystals in a lightsaber hilt. One is the crystal that gives it the blade, and the other one's for focusing.
The focus, yeah.
So maybe
I knew. Oh, Mark, I knew something.
You knew something. The stuff they put in the Death Star, maybe that's for focusing.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I think Rob took me through his weaponry once and taught me that.
I like what you just put in the show chat there, Paul.
Because I'm cool.
Around 4,000 years
I
before
don't know
the
if that's
Battle
canon anymore.
Lightsaber crystals used to indicate Jedi's chosen class. Well,
the classes were
the lightsaber hilts still have these names, don't they? Blue indicated
hilts,
Guardian.
I think do, yeah. But these names. I remember these. They use these in KOTOR. I don't think they're canon anymore.
Right. That's cool though.
But,
I like that very much.
But there is a canon example of crystals being different colors, which is Anakin's second lightsaber.
Yes.
He finds a blue crystal in. Is it Clone Wars?
Yes.
There you go.
He's both his weapons have been blue though, right?
Yeah, they were. Yeah. So presumably it's just a question of they come in different colors.
Yeah.
Maybe, like you say, it might be. You might be actually
really
spot on that certain crystal colors suit different things.
Yeah. And
so maybe it's to do with their hue as to what they're suited to,
and their nature, and then they call to the Jedi. So clearly they're matched to the Jedi, like a puppy choosing the owner. That's what we're going to go with there. I think, James, is that it's a naturally occurring puppy choosing. It's a naturally occurring colour that Mace was called by, and less to do with him partially bleeding it. I really don't like the way that reframes Mace and his intentions and his motivations. I think that's a step too far for Mace Windu. But right, let's get to the marquee event. So we are going to come back to more listener comms after we've broken the trailer down, because many of the listener comms this week are trailer specific.
What trailer?
So we want to give it plenty of time. So Steve, you're going to jump out before we break down the trailer for the
Steve.
Doctor Who Christmas special.
I do feel bad, but I do have my reasons, and maybe I didn't. I don't know. The other
we
thing
support your reasons, Steve. It's okay.
I know. The other thing to add for the listeners out there is that, not being as big a fan as you guys, I need a lot more going for me when I go there. Do you know what I mean? On my side, whereas you guys get revved up by the trailer, sometimes it kind of filters it down for me and makes it more sterile.
Okay.
If you know what I mean.
It's fair enough.
You're going to do that with every trailer for every film you ever fancy watching?
No, No, because
just Star Wars.
Because I would get revved up if I was looking at a new James Cameron film, or I don't know, the Stephen King. I could have watched that trailer I did watch it about 10 times, and I still loved the movie. I went to see it, but I am like that yin to your yang, and we said this before. And but
I'm a wing, so you must be.
If I cogitate, deliberate, and digest something too much, I ruin it for myself. Boom.
No.
And everybody else.
We support you, Steve. You go dark. We'll call you back. We'll call you back in when we get to the news section if we've got time.
We'll ask Jen to wake you up.
Yeah, we'll get Jen to nudge you.
I might be asleep, but I've got my volume on, so it'll be all right.
All right, mate. Okay, we'll speak to you in a bit then.
See you later.
Bye now.
Cheers, buddy.
Bye.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Right, chaps.
Is he gone?
He's
Good.
gone.
I hate him.
Let's say rude things about him. Okay. Right, this is earlier than we'd planned, but let's.
I'm scrolling your screen now.
Yeah, don't. I'm screen sharing. Let's get into
turn my mouse off just so I don't get tempted.
Yeah, because it gets really distracting. All right, we're going to break down the second trailer for Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
When I found you, I saw raw, untamed power. And beyond that, something truly special.
Something inside me has always been there. But now it's awake. And I need help.
I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now. Let the past die. Kill it. If you have to. That's the only way to become what you were meant to be.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to scrub through this trailer very, very slowly and see what leaps out at us. So, first shot, Kylo Ren.
I don't know if I'm alone here, but in every Star Wars film they make, I get a really, really strange satisfaction from these enormous window shots, whether it's Krennic looking through or Kylo looking through or Vader looking through. I do love these silhouettes on these enormous windows.
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Nice.
And it's just like galaxy-sized aquarium they're looking into.
I can give you some scale. Mark might be moving his mouse towards it. Mark, scroll mouse over a little bit to the right, up a bit.
Oh.
See those those walker carriers?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, man.
Yeah.
They're walker carriers.
Look at this! Look at this little fella over here on the far
yeah, look at
right.
that little guy over there. That's so cool.
It's like a puppy walker. You got your scout walkers in the front here. So is this? I mean, I'm taking this could just be the supremacy, and this is its full complement of assault craft, like these landers that Rob pointed out with the AT-ATs on. But with the sparks dropping down, it felt to me like this is a foundry where these things are being constructed.
Possibly, yeah. Probably.
Could be a bit of both.
Yeah, you can just see that.
They could be doing spot repairs or something.
Someone's welding the window, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly, yeah. Somebody's actually just on scaffold, just above the window, just tightening up the...
Yeah, you can see the AT-ATs actually on the one on the left, slightly clearer, can't you? They just look fantastic.
Yeah.
And there's ATSTs underneath as well.
ATSTs, yeah. This one's on a little lift down here. Yeah, there's plenty going on in this shot. It's just a gorgeous opening shot. And obviously there's Kylo, the contemplative Kylo overseeing.
Say that again, Mark.
No, I'm not going to...
That's
very important.
Contemplative?
The framing time frame, that's very important.
Yeah, I'm not sure on these guys. They look kind of chunky and menacing, but I'm still a bit unsure on the whole gorilla front paw kind of thing going on. But
I think we have to see them in a bit more motion, I think, to really.
Just for context, this is the next shot. We're on Crate, and we've got the ATM-6 walkers, and they're flanking the original AT-AT walkers, because of course you can see them in there looking very, very small.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Kylo Ren's lander, his shuttle from The Force Awakens.
Making its way across.
This shot to me, I mean, I love all this stuff, like with all this heavy metal machinery. I think is really exciting. But it's the lighting on this. It's just the lighting about this. There's something about it that calls back to Empire. And Empire to me looks like a moving oil painting. It's such a beautifully designed. The art direction in Empire is stunning. And this to me is calling back to some of that. It's just such a gorgeous looking shot.
The backdrop is very impressive.
The little flecks of red coming off on their front feet.
Yeah, like every time they stamp their foot down, you got that. The surface of Crate just sort of exploding underneath that. Really cool shot.
Yeah.
Now, you remember I spoke earlier, Robert, in the pre-show about Nathan Roberts had mentioned how this film called back to him, to Attack of the Clones. This is one of the shots, I think. So this is Kylo leading a group of stormtroopers, a battalion of stormtroopers, and there's an overhead shot. Anakin. Actually,
Revenge of the Sith?
No, that's Revenge of the Sith. Sorry, yes, of course. Yeah, no, that's Anakin, Revenge of the Sith.
Somebody made that comparison on Twitter, and I think it's a very deliberate one.
Yeah,
I think it's absolutely true.
Yeah. So yes, of course. Yeah. So he did mention Attack of the Clones, but that is obviously that's Sith.
Yeah.
It's a cool shot though. I like it.
It is a cool shot. Somebody was speculating that might be Mustafar, but
that was me. Yeah, that was me.
Was it you?
On my trailer reaction, the first time I watched it, I thought, well, that's lava. But then I hadn't, obviously, I hadn't factored in that.
Could be Crate, yeah.
I think it probably is Crate.
Yeah.
Then the next shot is Kylo in the mask.
Yep.
There's a lot of red in this film.
Yep. Yeah.
I'm thinking early on this shot.
I think very early on, and this is on the supremacy in Snoke's throne room. That's what the red is, I believe.
Yeah, I saw somebody speculate that this might be the first set piece in the film.
Mark.
Yeah.
Go back a flash. Go back to that march.
The film will open with Kylo Ren returning to Snoke,
I think that's a good call, actually, Rob. Yeah. I
think that's true. Right. Yeah, I saw it on. I think it was Reddit.
Okay, we think that's Ren. Yeah.
Yes.
Is he helmeted or not?
No.
It doesn't look like it. So that's later on in the film.
Yeah, later on. Crate, I think, is going to be more like the third act.
All right. I'll tell you, I'm trying to apply a little bit of logical linear thinking to this.
I'm doing the same.
Well, let me run this past you then. Firstly, I think thematically, I think the red is about blood. And I think not blood as in injuries, but blood as in family ties.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's what I think thematically, that's what I think all the red is about. And I think this is right at the top of the film. I suspect the film opens with the First Order assault on Dakar and the Resistance bugging out with Poe and the A-Wings, Poe and his X-Wing squadron and the A-Wing squadrons defending the fleet as they escape.
Okay.
And I'll call back to that as we go through this trailer, because Star Wars needs to preserve its opening crawl.
Yep.
Starfield, pan down.
Open space.
Or indeed up. Open space. And then we're going to have a battle. And there's a couple of shots in here that I think support that argument. And I'll call them out as we go through.
All right. Sure. So I reckon this is why he's been training against multiple people. This bit.
Okay.
So I reckon he's going to fight those guards in the background.
Yeah. You can just see the Praetorian Guard in the background there, can't you?
Oh, what? As a test?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's reclaiming his weapon from the floor.
Yep.
And then now this part, excuse me while I just scroll back to my notes to the transcript. This part, we hear Snoke's dialogue.
Yep.
And his dialogue is, "When I found you, I saw raw, untamed power. And beyond that, something truly special." And then it cuts to Rey.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of speculation this week that he could be talking to Rey about Rey.
I think he is.
You think he is?
Yep, and I reckon it's that line is in the third act.
Okay, which
that's
we'll
my
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my feeling. Is that that's part of the third act? That's part of that scene.
My initial reaction was that he's talking to Kylo, and
right.
I would think that it's part of him talking, admonishing Kylo for losing the fight to Rey, for losing control and losing focus. That's what I suspect that is, and I appreciate that it could be Rey, and I think it's a really great idea. But I still can't move off my initial position. Paul,
what makes? Sorry, go on, Paul. No, Paul can go first. That's fine.
No, he's talking to Rey.
You think he's talking to Rey as well? Okay.
Yeah, and it's in the scene where you see him and her at the end. And oh, sorry, I'm pushing forward. Obviously,
it's in that
scene.
Yeah. It's not like the spoiler.
I also think that's very, 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 very close to the closing of the movie.
I agree. Yeah, I totally agree.
You think that's going to be a?
I've already put that up on the site though. Yeah, I think that might be one of your last scenes. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Rob, you wanted to say something more, or was that?
Yeah. I think what's interesting about it is obviously we've talked before about how in the novelization there's a talk of the extra ability that Kylo has and the extra appeal.
Yeah.
But that was not filmed for the movie, and you can't help but wonder if there's a reason they did that, and maybe that's because they didn't want to confuse the discussion and have people kind of just go, oh well, he's talking about Kylo then.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it may be something to it, but maybe not. But it seems like that would have been a very easy thing to leave in the film, and they didn't put it in there.
Okay. I have a little bit of a theory about Rey and Kylo Ren and how they complement each other, but maybe we'll touch on that in a little bit when we get to one of the big moments in this trailer.
Okay.
So there's Rey with the lightsaber, and then we get our opening logos and the beautiful score by John Williams.
Yes.
Absolutely
cool.
Stunning. Paul, you must have something to say about this score.
I do. I didn't think you were going to ask me, actually. I just like the way it paces. That initial dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Where are you going with this? Because it's always quite jolly.
Yeah.
And they're innocent images, but they're obviously leading up to something that's obviously going to become more and more sinister.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, Mr. Williams, where are you taking us with this?
They touch on a lot of the themes as well. He stitches together.
Though.
Yeah,
he really has used the motifs in a clever way.
I love the way that they play off of those things. Really, really cool. You like the score, Rob?
I do. Yeah, I think it's very good.
The next scene. So the score's playing over an aerial shot of Octo, which we now know the correct pronunciation of this island is Octo.
Oh, okay.
As in 8. Octo.
So I can't say bless you anymore.
No. And Rey brings Luke the Skywalker lightsaber. And this is the reshot scene.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at Luke's hand, you can see the Revenge of the Jedi, the Return of the Jedi battle damage.
Yeah.
On the back of the hand.
That's pretty cool.
So we know it's the same hand. He hasn't lost another limb, and this is a new replacement. It's
right.
And obviously he's been going to Pandora because there's a tiny little Pandora porg decorating his hand there. If you can see that, that's a cool effect. I like that very much.
It's a very cool effect.
And then we get Luke sort of
he looks baffled.
Yeah, semi confused. Yeah,
yeah.
I like that. And then we get the Lord of the Rings shot. So the Force tree shrouded in mist.
Yes.
And Rey looking all the world like a hobbit, making her way up to the tree. This little bit here does kind of suggest that maybe Luke is familiar with. You remember I said before that it might be that he's seeing those books for the first time. Yes. Yeah.
I'm starting to think, based on this trailer, that that's not the case.
Yeah. Somebody said
I feel like she got there very easily. Otherwise, I realise she's Rey. That's what she does. But I still, even then, I think, you know. I think it's more than likely actually that he's been looking after them. Yeah,
here's a little theory for you. In the comic books, I just recorded TSW Comics this week with Rob and Tim, and we were discussing Darth Vader issue number 6. And in issue 6, they set up. This is a slight spoiler for a comic book that people have probably already got by now.
Okay.
They set up the next issue, which is Jocasta Nu is going to feature as one of the Jedi that they're hunting down in the Purge.
Right.
So I'm starting to wonder. Jocasta Nu is the Jedi that looks after the library.
Oh.
The Jedi Temple Archives.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
if Jocasta Nu, if they're telling the story of her escape from the Jedi Temple, did she leave with these books? And have these books passed to Luke over time?
Mm-hmm.
And these books have made their way to his academy. And somebody pointed out that these do look like they're a little bit fire damaged.
Possibly
some scorching. I can't make it out on this copy of the.
It's a tough one, and maybe they're talking. Maybe they've gone back and watched the first teaser to get some comparison.
Yes,
I think that's slightly closer up shot.
I think that's probably a good point actually. Yeah. So I'm wondering now if we're going to learn in the Darth Vader book, which is now coming out on the run up to the Last Jedi. So if they do sort of tell the story of these books and how they got from the Jedi Temple Archives into Luke's possession, they might be told in the comic books, and then it doesn't qualify as required reading, but it does colour in some details for the hardcore fan.
Yeah.
I think these books have gone from the Jedi Temple, from the archives, to Jocasta Nu, with her on the run, passed on to somebody else, maybe even made their way to Lor San Tekka, and then
I was about to say Lor San Tekka. Yeah.
Then to the Jedi Academy that Luke lost, and then he's taken what's left with him to Octo.
Maybe.
It's stuff like this that makes me grateful for the story group. If this is what they've done, I think it makes me really grateful for the story group.
So, is Luke a Guardian?
Potentially, yeah. I think so. Yeah, I think he spent years after Return of the Jedi, I think, trying to piece back together the Jedi Order. So not just an army of Force sensitives.
People, not just people,
but the
resources
knowledge
as well.
Yeah, the knowledge that goes with it.
Here's a question, actually. You know the caretakers?
Yes, yeah.
Have they established whether or not they're native to Octo?
Not expressly. I don't think expressly. No, they are the protectors of the first Jedi Temple. Yeah, that's all we know. But I don't know if they've been brought to that planet.
Possible that. Possibly they were brought there, or they made their way there, or something.
I think there's something in their design that suggests that they return to the water every once in a while to do like stuff like, I don't know, fish or the backstroke
stuff
or whatever.
Yeah, fish stuff,
fish things. Yeah. So there's Rey entering that tree and looking at the books, and then we see her training with the lightsaber. Now, somebody pointed out, I can't think where I heard this. Somebody pointed out on another podcast that she's using I think it's Form 5, which is the form that Luke uses in Return of the Jedi.
Right.
Which is mostly defensive.
Okay.
But I don't know what I'm talking about.
You say that, but she's doing wide swings.
Yeah.
Doesn't necessarily lend itself to a defensive style.
No, but I like I say, I don't know anything about lightsaber combat. I need to talk to Steve Kirk at San Diego Sabres.
Best bet. Yeah.
How much of it is based on traditional fencing, I wonder?
Fair bit, probably.
Yeah, it has its roots in all different types of swordplay, doesn't it? From
Kendo.
Kendo was the original, and then fencing and but this is great, and I love that rock. The way the rock is arched around that move, as if that's.
She's done it very badly. No, she's done it very badly many times.
That's it.
Multiple.
Did you see I managed
to
stop early?
Jedi, yeah.
Did you see, Mr. Luke? Did you see?
Mr. Luke.
You see what I did? You see?
The lightsaber beats to the music as well throughout this scene. It's absolutely perfect. So then we get one of the bigger moments in this trailer, which is the ground cracking.
Yeah.
This is Luke's meditation rock that Rey's sitting on. And this is the moment from the first trailer where she's raising the pebbles using the Force, sitting cross-legged.
I just had a theory pop into my head. I'll come back to it later. Remind me to touch back on this particular moment.
Okay. So there's Luke looking astonished, I think we can say.
Yeah, seems fair.
Fairly astonished at what he's just seen. Rey focusing. Now this, excuse me while I go back to the transcript. This is Rey saying, there's something inside me. Has always been there, and now it's awake. and I need help.
Yeah.
And then the ground cracks, and Luke says, I've seen this raw strength only once before. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now. There's been huge debate since this trailer dropped about who he's referring to.
Really?
I've heard some very
Seems
prominent Star Wars commentators suggesting that it's Vader and Palpatine. I think it's Kylo.
Yeah, I think it's Kylo.
And I think the reference to raw power,
yeah,
it ties back to what Snoke said previously about raw and untrained.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I just need to mute while I cough. Pardon me, am I back?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, dearie me. Yeah, so it calls back to what Snoke said about raw, untamed power.
Yeah.
And then we hear Luke say this raw strength before.
Yeah.
Now, that could apply to both Kylo and to Rey. I personally think that Luke's referencing Kylo. What do you gents think?
I think so.
Paul?
I'll be referencing Vader.
I'm not seeing it.
It doesn't fit to me within the story that's being told now. About it's almost like Luke's, the way I'm reading it anyway, is that Luke's very cautious now. You know, his next line is, he says, it didn't scare me enough then.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have been scared of
it.
Rey,
Does
would he?
now.
Well, here's the thing. Also, raw strength. Vader was trained.
Yeah.
Palpatine was trained.
Yeah.
Kylo wasn't. Kylo was trained by Luke.
Yeah, he was sent.
So he's the only person who Luke would have seen exhibit raw strength, because everybody else had been highly trained by that point. So sorry, Star Wars commentators, I'm not seeing what you're seeing.
No, in The Force Awakens, Leia said she sent Ben to Luke. So it seemed to me like perhaps he was showing an ability they didn't know how to control. Yeah. She felt it was best that this emerging power be contained or controlled or trained by Luke. And Luke, I think, is guilty of the same sins as Obi-Wan. So Obi-Wan felt that he could train Anakin and he lost control. And I think Luke was not necessarily arrogant, but it was the same abandon that he had going in, thinking, all right, give me my nephew and I'll rein this in and I'll train him.
Could also be that he didn't know there was any other, the complacency is not, I can train him and he won't fall to the dark side. He doesn't necessarily know there's a dark side to influence to fall to, because he might just be oblivious.
Yeah, that's a good point. But, all bets are off at this point. There's only an interpretation really at the moment, isn't there? And,
absolutely, yeah.
And to me, it makes sense that it's Kylo, but it could equally be that he's talking about the things that he has witnessed, Palpatine.
Yeah, again, I think if he was talking about that, he wouldn't use raw strength. He would just say strength.
Yeah.
I just don't see it as... I don't see him referring to highly trained Sith,
as raw.
One of which was trained by the Jedi almost, from childhood to adulthood, as raw. I just don't see it. And if they do that, I almost kind of think it's a bit daft.
Yeah. There's also this interesting seal on the floor, right?
Yeah. Somebody said they could see it possibly being the symbol from the book.
Oh, right, okay.
In which case, that could mean that maybe he did find the first Jedi temple.
Yeah. I think he did. I think that's already been established that Octo is the site of the first Jedi temple. I think Ryan let that out.
Okay.
But this kind of looks dragony to me, but
okay.
Oh, we'll come back to that. So then we move on now. After Luke's referenced the fact that he should have perhaps respected the raw power previously, we get a glimpse at Luke in the wreckage of the school,
which is interesting, isn't it? Because we were talking about, was he off planet at the time? Clearly, he wasn't.
No, doesn't look like it, does it?
And the first thing that struck me about this was like, oh, okay, he was there.
He was there.
So why is he still alive?
And I
have a theory on that too.
Do you?
Later.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I got loads.
The flesh missing from the hand. I think this might be our answer. In this wreckage, he might have. Maybe
that's possible.
been burnt off in the attempt to extricate himself from this.
It did
building.
seem a little bit clean, though. Wouldn't like if it would burned off the sort of synthetic flesh? Wouldn't there be a bit of remnant?
Yeah, possibly, but it's a kids' film.
So in the shot of it, well, no, it's synthetic flesh, right? So it would just be like burn marks in the same way as I don't know. But when we saw his hand placed on R2, there wasn't that.
No.
So I reckon the synth flesh just kind of wasted away, and he just never replaced it.
Yeah, that's a fair reading too.
I don't know though.
Paul, what do you think of this scene at the school?
Well, this is twofold. Number one, you immediately identify as Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Because it's the only hand that could possibly do that. And number two, I don't think Luke has had the prosthetic on his hand for many, many moons.
Yeah, I think that's good read.
It looks like there are a couple of structures here that have been destroyed as well, and the main one, the school, that
big time. Yeah,
I heard Paul Bateman refer to as almost being like St Paul's Cathedral in the background there with the dome.
I've used that as a reference point.
Yeah. So then we're back to Luke and Ray on Octo, and then we cut to some of the really interesting stuff, and this really gives us some clues about where we are in the film here. So Kylo Ren with the helmet in what looks like an Imperial
turbo lift.
A turbo lift. This is the lift that leads to Snoke's throne room on the Supremacy, because we see a wide shot of Kylo coming out of that lift in the behind the scenes reel.
Oh, okay.
So we know that that's the red set. And we see here Kylo with some sort of dressing, probably like a Bacta dressing on his wound on his face.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is in the first act.
Yeah. It's very early on.
Very early on. And I think
so this might be the first time we see those two characters turn up on screen. Is this exchange. And this is probably... So the way I see it playing out, somebody sort of speculated this on Twitter, and I this is kind of what I was thinking too, is Kylo goes up to Snoke to sort of, what's the word? To kind of proffer himself as because he's failed.
Yes, yeah.
Snoke tells him to prove himself. He fights the guards. Maybe he doesn't win as comfortably as he'd like.
Mm-hmm.
And Snoke sort of gives him a dressing down about letting go of the past and all that stuff. And then in the turbo lift on the way down, he smashes the mask, and that's the last time we see the mask.
Yep. Yes.
That's the read I've kind of come to. And like I say, I saw somebody on Twitter phrase it as such, and that's kind of helped me crystallize it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And if you look, he's smashing it into the bank of lights, because I've also heard commentators saying that it couldn't be just him smashing the helmet because it's on the floor smoking in the first trailer. Well, this will be why it's smoking. It's been smashed into a bank of lights.
Yeah, and also not for nothing, but that could just as easily be a shot that's not in the film.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah. That shot from the first teaser, I mean.
Paul, you're a big Kylo Ren fan. What do you make of this moment?
I actually thought this was failure on Crate, and this is just raw anger because he's failed on Crate.
But then he's not wearing. He's got the helmet.
Say again.
He's got the helmet with him.
Yeah.
And everything we've seen of him on Crate, he hasn't got it.
How much have we seen of him on Crate so far?
The top down shot. We
don't know that's Crate.
We can be relatively sure.
Okay, but we don't. Okay, but you want my opinion?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
I do like his 1970s, kind of tattooed band-aid. That's very,
Scotch
very
Guard
cool.
yeah,
it's awesome.
That's
the interesting thing is in that shot, you've got a rebel frigate getting blown to pieces as well.
That's the next piece, yeah.
Yeah. So this dressing, I think this is our marker. People were saying his
skin was split and he's cyborg underneath. It's like, no, it's just a dressing for crying out loud.
Exactly,
like you say.
Well,
it's like I say, it's medical droid kind of, Bacta enhanced skin that's been put on him. Kind of thing.
We get a better look at it in a minute. So this is the Resistance fleet. I think they're bugging out from Octo. They're bugging out from Dakar. Moments after the end of The Force Awakens, that the First Order rock up to wipe them out, and of course they leave, and we've got Kylo in his TIE silencer, and some TIE fighters, and he's leading the assault on what appears to be the flagship with Leia on board.
Mm.
And in this scene, we have Kylo's line, which is, let the past die. Kill it if you have to. It's the only way to become who you were meant to be. Now, I think we've already seen the first part of that ambition from Kylo Ren when he killed Han.
Mm.
He's trying to dispatch any tie he has to the Ben Solo identity. He wants to completely lose himself in the identity of Kylo Ren. I think he's trying too hard. And
this is why I think the mask goes early on.
Oh, yeah, because he'd be wearing it now.
Ben Solo wearing it. I think that's him kind of, maybe as part of his dressing down, Snoke tells him, you know, you're not Kylo Ren, you're just Ben Solo in a mask. Yeah,
yeah. And whether or not Snoke would overtly point that out, I think that's definitely the subtext of what's going on with Kylo Ren. He's tried to lose himself in that identity. And when we see Hux enter that room in The Force Awakens, Kylo's very shy of the fact that, oh God, he's seeing me without my face on. You know, I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not enough to intimidate people. I think he's starting to become exactly that now. He's taken a step closer to becoming that thing that intimidates. They call him the Jedi Killer, right? He's got a nickname in the First Order.
Yeah.
So I think he's starting to grow into that persona himself, and he needs fewer props now to support
But he's also
that.
got to take away the fact that he's Ben Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, hang on a minute, we've got the General's son here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Whose side is he really on? So
that's what I mean is, you know, he's growing into that Kylo Ren persona, so he doesn't feel like he needs the mask as much anymore because the face is, you know.
Yeah, there is that. He does use the mask to sort of to disguise his identity, but I think the more he becomes the Jedi Killer Kylo Ren, the less people recognise him as Leia and Han's son in the First Order. So they're going to be less cautious about his divided loyalties. So we can see him. It's very much edited to sort of suggest that Leia is the object of his intention in this scene, targeting the bridge. She could be. And I think this is Adam Driver doing a beautiful job of conflict in that moment.
Yeah.
This is why he's not wearing that helmet, because you can't emote this through that faceplate. That's a great moment for him. And I think this is him failing again.
Maybe, yeah.
I think he fails to take the kill shot. I think he'll take a shot, but I think he'll fail to take the kill shot.
I think that's true. I think there's a couple of bits in this trailer that could be misdirect, and I think that's not one of them.
No.
I think that scene plays out, you know, maybe not in that sequence, but that exchange plays out.
Yeah, there will be casualties in that escape from Dakar section of the movie. There will certainly be casualties. Yeah. And she may be one, but not terminally.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe he takes a shot that deliberately is not designed to take her out in a permanent way.
Then we end up in what appears to be a mine.
This makes me think. This is why I think it's great.
Yeah,
yeah. This is why I think that top-down shot is great, because this feels like part of the planet.
So there's a pursuit. The Falcon's being pursued by TIE fighters through the mines of Crate. We're going to go out on a limb and say that's the case.
Yeah,
it calls back to Rey piloting through the ships and the Return of the Jedi with this flying through the Death Star. It calls back to all of those things. Great moment. Not sure who's in this cockpit with Chewie, but we know there's definitely a Porg in there.
Yes.
Look at the animation on that Chewie mask. That's fantastic, isn't it?
Brilliant. It actually makes him look younger.
Yeah, it does. A bit too groomed, actually.
Yeah.
Maybe he's decided to. Maybe they've just come from Han's funeral. Just spiffed himself up a bit, just because he's like, that's what Han would do.
He needs his teeth descaled.
Yeah, maybe.
Too much calf.
He's obviously British.
Yeah. And then
these guys, those guys I don't like.
Great dental on the Millennium Falcon's health plan.
You're not a fan of the Porgs?
Not remotely, man. This is Ewoks Part 2.
Few people are saying that.
Oh, I love them. I
think by the time the film comes out, they'll have the same kind of divisive appeal.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Because they're already being done to death a bit in terms of pop culture.
Yeah, even Ryan said, "Have you had enough of them yet?"
Yeah, exactly.
I think they're kind of cute, though. I like them.
Yeah, they're kind of cute. They're all right.
Yeah, I like the dashboard. So then, after the shot of the Falcon going through what we're assuming is a mine on Crate, we get another attack on a fleet, and this includes Poe on board. So I don't know whether we're seeing this in context, but Poe sees from a window on one of the, I'm assuming, command ships, the attack, and then moments later we see his X-Wing launched into action. This is the X-Wing with the singular booster on the back, right. And there are him going into battle against Dreadnought-class Star Destroyers. And if you look at the background of the first shot, I'll just scrub us back, that's the rings around Dakar.
Oh, okay.
The asteroid belt.
This is probably early on.
This is right at the top. I think this is probably one of the first things. Now, I don't think this shot of Poe on the command ship seeing the assault, I don't think that comes before.
No, I think that's later.
But this Poe in the X-Wing, I think this is the first time we see Poe. I'm willing to bet that.
Maybe there's a space battle above
Dakar
as well.
Possibly, yeah. But right now, this is definitely Dakar. You can see in the background.
Yeah, the rings.
Yeah, the rings, and you can see the green planet. So this is Poe leading the defense of Dakar, or buying time for the Resistance to flee.
Billy Lord in the background.
Yeah, Billy Lord in the background there. Yeah, with a tiny little layer buns on top of her head.
Now, are they captives, or are they in the middle of a sort of motivational speech?
There's a line of dialogue from Poe. Thank you, Rob. We are the spark that will light the fire that will burn the First Order down. That's from Poe in this scene. Now, I think he's talking to Amelin Holdo there.
Okay.
And very early on, there was talk about Leia being injured in an attack on the fleet.
Yes,
and
maybe that's what he's seeing out of the window.
I think Leia's potentially been incapacitated at this point, and Poe stepping up to take command when Holdo wants to take command.
Yeah,
and she, I think, would take either the route to surrender, and he wants to stand fast and take them to a safe haven, which ultimately I think will be Crate. Okay. I know that Amelin Holdo and Leia have some connection to Crate from expanded storytelling, but I couldn't tell you what it is yet.
Right.
Because I don't know. Not that it's a secret. I'm not a gatekeeper. I just don't know. So we move on from that. Now, this is a cool moment. This is Phasma versus Finn, and every shot in this is gorgeous. So Finn finally getting to face off against somebody he can't stand is a great reflection of John Boyega in Phasma's face mask there.
Here's the thing. Her mask and her armor looks remarkably in good shape considering she was thrown in the rubbish.
Yeah. This I heard something today. This is canon, supposedly. This is metal taken from Palpatine's private yacht that was once boosted by Lando Calrissian.
Oh, the one from is that the one from the Lando comics?
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure that I like that, but it's a pretty cool detail.
It doesn't. It's one of those ones that's just a bit of filler, isn't it? It's not like a.
I think it's not like comic books.
Storylines don't hinge upon it.
No. So straight after the confrontation between Finn, Paul, have you got any comment on this moment between Finn and Phasma before I move on?
No, I mean, it's not exactly positive, I'm afraid. It's just this is a slightly rehash of what happened in TFA with the guy, with the big stick, sort of thing. But obviously, they tone it up by using Phasma's quite clever.
Interestingly, I'm not sure if you're being extremely insightful there, Paul, or whether you're not aware. Their original plan was to fight Phasma in Force Awakens.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as I say, I didn't know if you'd set that up as a deliberate thing or whether you just weren't aware of that bit of trivia. But they decided to take her out because they wanted to keep her around, and they didn't have a satisfactory way to.
I commented before she was used. Not she. Shouldn't say she, but it is a she. I said they didn't use her anywhere near enough compared to the menacing figure she's supposed to be. Yeah. So maybe we're going to get a bit more than that.
I think so.
It was because the understanding was they didn't have a satisfactory way to end the fight because they didn't want either one to lose. So they substituted her in for a trooper, and then he was able to be dispatched, and it didn't really matter. That's my understanding of how it works anyway.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
And this obviously leads up. I mean, in the first trailer we saw, ridiculous explosion and it appears to be Phasma coming through, that looks like the same bay.
Yes, I think so.
Yes.
Yes,
It's
I
the
think
same
so.
environment.
Yeah, so they're probably dueling on a burning spaceship.
Yeah.
Where he should be saying, I really should be getting out of here.
Yeah, exactly. I must dash. I'm so
I just want to go to that door. Will you let me pass?
I'm so terribly sorry. I really must dash.
Right, this is opening scene stuff again. Now, this space battle. So we got.
So, if you look to the left, you've got that enormous stand up vertical turret situation going on. So we saw those in the first trailer.
Yeah,
I thought you meant
these are the bombers. That's the ring, Rob.
Behind that in the no.
They're the rings.
Oh, sorry, yeah, that's the ring. But the coming through into the shot is the Supremacy as well.
Well, I think that's a Dreadnought class Star Destroyer.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I think so. This is a big flat.
Somebody said it was a Supremacy somewhere. I
think this is the Dreadnought class.
Oh, okay.
I think the Supremacy is a lot bigger and more like a stealth bomber, and this is just like a big flat triangle ship.
Oh, of course, it's much wider, isn't it?
Yeah. And this looks like a regular First Order Star Destroyer over there in the background. And all of these tall ships are resistance bombers.
We've seen them before, haven't we?
We have. And in these little ball turrets, Paige Tycho, Rose's sister, is a gunner in it.
One of those, yeah.
And I think
that's very World War II, isn't it?
Yeah, I think she perishes in this battle, and I think that activates Rose. No, I think.
Yeah.
And that activates Rose and propels Rose into action.
Yeah.
There's a shot here of BB-8 getting hit by what I'm assuming would be
an
ion blast or something.
Yeah.
So that's the cue that this is Poe, the Black X-Wing, and of course BB-8 is his faithful droid. So, okay, next really interesting.
Really quickly before you go on, this is one of the things that made me laugh about this too. Just go back a touch. Can you see in the corners? It's almost like ball droid goes here. Arrows.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you're right. Of course,
that's a really big Phillips screwdriver.
It is. Yeah.
It's the only way to get him in.
What if
he's got a weird socket thing going on.
What if you lose the screwdriver that comes with your X-Wing? Snooker.
You've always got bits left over.
Always.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to this is a scene in the rain on Octo again.
It's very Camelot-like, isn't it?
Yeah.
So Lord of the Rings kind of somewhere. Yeah, it could be Helm's Deep almost.
Luke on his back. There's a line here from Luke. This is not going to go the way you think, is Luke's line in this scene.
Yeah.
Not sure who's talking to.
It's got to be Rey.
I would bet folding money it's Rey.
Yeah. Do you think it's like a echo to Empire when he goes into the dark side cave?
I think he might have pushed her a little bit too far, and I think she sort of hit back.
Oh, maybe.
This is a desperate man lying on the ground or against a rock out in the pouring rain. He's not having a calm, quiet word with Rey.
No. It's
an
altercation, I think.
I think he's talking to. I think he's addressing her.
I don't think.
I think you're absolutely right. I think he's
talking to a porg.
And the porg is like, spoilers. He said, "No, this is not going to go the way you think." Yeah, cool. So the next thing, we're on Crate.
Yep.
And there's all these like diamond crystal fox things. Obviously, I would suggest that these are local creatures. Local to Crate. Now this opening, if you can see, it's just starting to close. Yeah. The opening of the Rebel base. And this is an old Rebel base.
Yeah.
I think this is echoing the moment in Empire Strikes Back where Leia was watching over, waiting for Luke and Han to return.
Yeah.
So I don't know who she's waiting for this time.
Maybe she's not waiting. Maybe she's waiting for the First Order.
Maybe she could be waiting for that to start.
She's a general, mate. She's the head of her army.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it could be that. Yeah.
Yeah. Next scene. I have a thought brewing about this scene of Leia at the doors. I'm not sure where that's going to go.
Okay.
The next scene is Rey diving into the water back on Octo now.
Where presumably she drowns, right? Because she grew up on Jakku.
Yeah. She doesn't like sand. Now, if I can frame back, can you see this creature?
Yeah.
Looks like a skeleton of some sort of dragony sea monstery type thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is Rey training or if this is a trial for Rey.
Maybe.
And then we see her clambering out of the pool, and this is Force Awakens Rey. The hair tied back.
Yeah.
Arm wrappings on.
Yep.
And it cuts skillfully into the next shot of Jedi Rey. So I think this is third act Rey with the Qui-Gon hairstyle.
Okay.
I don't think they're the same. I don't think these two shots are from the same part of the film.
Okay. She doesn't look. I guess she doesn't look damp enough, does she?
No.
When she stands up.
In the subsequent shot, she doesn't look wet enough.
No. But which is a shame because I almost thought they did play into each other, and she kind of went through this trial expecting to have to do the last bit by herself, and then he turns up.
Yeah.
And she's not expecting him to be there or something. And there's some. So now that's put another theory in my head. So we're gonna have to go almost back through this twice.
Okay.
I want to go through it once first, and then obviously we can spin off.
Ray standing up, I think this might be the precursor to the scene we saw where Luke was on his back.
Yeah.
Because that looks like,
that's
to me, like she's standing up to sort of take...
Okay. Yeah.
Umbrage.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where my mind's going as well.
Next shot is Finn being led by a First Order Stormtrooper. This is Finn in a First Order lieutenant's uniform or an officer's uniform. So this is undercover Finn, secret squirrel Finn. And they look like they're in the landing bay that we were in earlier at the very start that Kylo was looking out over with the with the landing craft throughout. They've done a good job at sort of echoing some of the scene setups in this trailer, haven't they?
Does it look like Finn's hands are almost like he could be shackled at the front?
I'm getting the impression
by the position of his arms.
Yes, I think so. I'm getting the impression that he's being led.
Yeah.
And all the other officers are wearing hats.
Is there the remotest, tiniest chance that Kylo Ren is staring out of a window above this lot right now?
Entirely possible.
Yes.
Yeah. So is there a chance that Finn and Kylo are in the same vicinity for whatever reason?
Entirely possible.
Are we assuming Kylo looking out the window is that early in the movie? It could be, like I said, with Star Wars, it could be any situation at all.
Again, he's unhelmeted, so it suggests he's most likely.
It does seem like post-anger, Yeah,
these are the windows in the background there. I was just trying to get my bearings. These windows at the back, it could be that they're mirrored on both ends of this, but that makes sense to be where...
Walker's facing right. No, they're facing the wrong way.
From the start.
Yeah. So Kylo's behind this
behind
shot.
us, where we are. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Being sort of further up and to the right.
Okay, next shot takes us back to Crate. First Order TIE fighters coming in to lay down some cover fire. Yeah, they're great, aren't they?
I wonder what mechanism they used to bring these monkeys down. Excuse the term.
Yeah, bigger versions of the ATAT landing craft. I would think probably with fewer on board. Because there's 6 on a regular one, isn't there?
Yeah, it looks like it.
So I imagine
maybe there's one in the middle, in between the engines.
Yeah, it could be, couldn't it? Yeah.
Who knows?
So there's some cool shots here. The skimmers, speeder type things coming out of the Rebel base. I think that's a Rebel base in the background there. I know they're the Resistance, but this is not a Rebel base.
Yeah.
And the TIE fighters are crashing. Awesome shots. And now this is where we get to the money. This is where I really wanted this moment in this trailer. I really wanted to see Snoke in the flesh, literally, and we do get that, which I think is fantastic.
Yes.
Great shot. And Snoke has a line here. Fulfill your destiny, but said in the inimitable baritone of Andy Serkis. And we see Snoke in the background, obviously in the foreground we've got Rey being suspended and frozen and in agony,
swinging like a paint mixer.
Yeah,
that was one of the things that made me laugh the first time I watched it. I was like, I don't know if it's sped up. I have a feeling it's sped up.
Yeah,
that
she trembled.
She's going to be writhing in agony, but she's not going to be doing it that's fast. It's not going to be like a stop motion thing. It's going to be that's like I say, I think that's a faster version of what's in the film.
Well, she did have some of that tremor on in The Force Awakens when Kylo used the same technique to freeze her in place. There was a tremor.
True,
in her
but there
body.
was a lot less writhing. It was much less. It wasn't about pain. It was about resisting.
But this is
resisting immobility. Whereas this is about
the daddy. This is not little Ben. This is the big bad holding her now. So, Praetorian Guard in the background. Snoke's throne in the distance there. So Rey definitely ends up on the supremacy, and we saw that on toy packaging a while back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's clearly
could be a vision, I guess, but I think realistically, she probably is on there.
I would.
I'll tell you what. So just for effect, just to drive you all mad, that's where you should get. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh.
Seriously,
it'd be awesome.
2 years of agony.
Yeah. So you come in at the beginning of episode 9. And she's just like, God, that was painful.
Yeah. So the last couple of moments,
she's dispatched them off screen.
Yeah, in the opening crawl.
She just come in at episode 9 and she's just dusting herself off, going, man, that hurt.
Yeah, the opening
she's just
crawl.
doing her hair.
Yeah.
Rey managed to escape the clutches of Snoke in the last movie and went on to live 10 years in solitude and have a child. And that's the next. It's like Little House on the Prairie.
She can because she's Rey.
The last few moments of this trailer, Rey, otherwise known as one of the world's most beautiful women, TM, is talking to somebody, and with a little creative editing, it would appear to be Kylo Ren.
Yeah, there's a lot of there was a pretty spirited discussion in the VIP group about whether or not this
There's
scene
a lot
is
of light missing from her background.
Yeah.
Well, so
but that said, her face.
If people are listening of VIPs, I encourage you to go and have a look at the discussion. It started with a picture shared by Nathan, and then Joe Crouch, who ain't no slouch, proved himself true to his name and kind of gave a reasoning as to why that could still be the same scene, giving some sort of technical, what's the word? Technical considerations, that might account for that. Personally, I don't think it's the same scene at all.
I don't.
No, I think that's the misdirect of the two. Not of the two, but of the multiple ones. I think that's the misdirect. But I do have some theories on how it could still work.
Okay.
But obviously, we want to go through it first, and then we'll talk theories.
She's talking to Luke, and
I think she's absolutely talking
in the cave with the light coming down onto the books.
Yes, I think she's absolutely talking to Luke. But I actually think she's sitting in that. Maybe she's sitting in the cave before that altercation earlier on in the film. So when is where I think this bit is where she convinces him to train her.
Yeah, sorry, Rob.
Sorry, yeah, go on.
This is Act 1 Rey. This is Force Awakens Rey.
Yeah, and
that's Act 3 Kylo.
I'll go one further, and I will say that actually that bit of dialogue there, I need someone to help me find my place in all this, is part of the same dialogue where she talks about something that's awakened inside of me.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's part of this. I think they're both part of the same scene.
And do you know the capper on that, Rob?
Go on.
It's time for the Jedi to end.
Okay.
That's what I think that conversation is. I need someone to show me my place in all this.
Right.
I've come here to train. I've come here to train to be a Jedi. And he's like, no, it's time for the Jedi to end. This is what I think. That's the exchange. I think she's talking to Luke.
Okay.
And it's that section. I think you're right. Something's awakening me. I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
He says it's time for the Jedi to end. Then she does the demonstration of her ability outside. And he's like, oh, no, it's time for me to get away, far away from you.
Okay.
And that the whole thing will escalate through those stages, I think. This is her pleading for help.
Yeah.
And him saying, I'm not going to help you become a Jedi. That's done. That chapter in history is over. And then she demonstrates her ability and he's like, oh, I made this mistake before. Which way do I let this go? Because if I don't train her and focus her ability, Snoke will. And the last time I saw this sort of power was Ben, and look what's happened since Snoke got his hands on him. If she's the real deal.
Yeah, I do think, though, that that part of the doesn't scare me then, it does now, is him stopping the training.
Right, yeah.
So I think at that point, like you say, I think you're right. She convinces him to train her based on this exchange. And I think that he stops because he starts seeing this kind of raw, this incredible strength. And I have a theory on why that's happening as well.
Okay.
And it ties into the next shot.
Let's just go through this. So this is the basis of my argument. This is Act 1 Rey and Act 3 Kylo, because Kylo no longer has the band-aid on his face.
And the scar is healed-ish.
I suspect this hand being extended by Kylo could still be to Rey.
Sure.
But it'll be third act Rey. Right. So I have an issue with the way this is edited, because I think it's revealing something, a connection between Kylo and Rey, but I think it's doing it out of context, because this isn't the Rey. She's not pleading to Kylo for help. I think he probably comes to her and says, "You need to help me put an end to this."
Yeah.
But I think that will be third act.
Maybe she takes his hand off at that point.
Maybe. Paul?
Well, rewind a bit, mate.
Yes.
The amount of fire and brimstone going off around Kylo.
Yeah.
That's the school, no?
I
think. And look at the scar. The grey scar, the grey repair is not there currently.
Yeah. So it's later on. That's what Mark's saying about it being third act Kylo.
Okay, but I was under the assumption that he was going to have like a flesh wound, and then the band-aid will come in for the rest of the movie.
Oh, okay.
No,
so
I think
this is early on. I think
he's
offering a hand to Luke.
Right. Okay.
Hang on. When?
This.
I know he would have been too young at the school, wouldn't he? When that
and also he wouldn't have had the scar. He got the scar in Force Awakens.
I think a lot of people are jumping, because of these falling embers. I think a lot of people are jumping on, this is the school, so this must be a Force vision, and Kylo's reaching out to Rey through a Force vision and making an actual connection.
So that's kind of where my mind was going, and I think actually her seeing him and being angry at him is what causes her to make the fissure in the rock.
Right. Okay.
That's where my kind of mind went for that one.
I think what we're seeing here is, I think this is reality.
Right.
Kylo's scar says third act Kylo Ren to me. This scar has been healed by the back to.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay.
The band-aid on his face is to heal the wound she gave him at the end of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
By this point in the movie, that's done its job, and now he's got his full-on scar. This is as good as it's going to get, right?
Yeah.
These burning embers, these falling embers, I don't believe that that's the score. I believe that this is the Force tree on Octo.
Oh, okay.
Now, we've heard that there were some on-set reports that the tree was aflame.
Oh, yeah.
And there is also a report that Kylo turns up with the Knights of Ren on Octo and confronts both Luke and Rey.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know where that fits in. Rey needs to leave. Third act Rey needs to leave Octo to go and try and save Finn and the others and get caught on the supremacy by Snoke. That could be in the final 10 or 15 minutes of the movie.
Yep.
This, I think, is Kylo Ren getting to Octo to confront Luke.
Yep.
With the Knights of Ren. They destroy the Force tree.
Right.
Luke dispatches the Knights of Ren.
Mm-hmm.
Kylo goes after Rey. Now, we heard that they have a lightsaber duel, and she goes off a cliff.
Right.
Now, this hand could be, don't make me kill you.
Right. Oh, I see. Yeah, don't make me destroy you.
Don't make me destroy you.
Right.
Right? If he's now thinking, you're an ally, you're the only person I can ally myself with who will help me get rid of the only obstacle in my way, which is Snoke, who keeps taunting and teasing me because I can't do what I need to do to go full dark side.
Yeah.
He now, I think, wants to remove Snoke, and he's starting to see the Sith dynamic. Like Kylo's ambitions are, if I can go back to the Sith model of way of doing things, I'd remove the Master, become the Master, and get myself an apprentice. He reaches out to Rey, don't make me destroy you, come with me. Then I think Luke, once he's done with the Knights of Ren, he comes and scares off Kylo. which leads us into the third act proper, which is Rey saying, I've got to go and get my friends. That he might say, like Kylo could say something like, your friends, it's that whole thing from the Return of the Jedi. Your friends are done. This is all over. Your friends are now caught on the supremacy. They're in the clutches of Snoke. You've got no one left, nowhere to go. Come with me. I will show you the way. So I do think that's a hand being extended to Rey, but I think it's a Rey that's just been kind of defeated by Kylo until Luke comes up and opens a can of whoop ass on him.
Can I proffer some alternatives?
Please do.
Okay, so there's a something that popped into my head when I was watching the trailer is that he could be on the remains of a burning resistance ship, offering that hand to Leia,
right,
to take her, to get her out, because he's had his his chance to take her out and he hasn't done it. So he's actually gone one step further, gone onto the ship to rescue her.
Yeah.
Maybe she turns it down because it's not her son anymore or whatever. I don't know. I mean, that's a bit more melodramatic, I guess, but that's one of the theories I had.
That's amazing.
I did the thought of the idea of him appearing to her in a Force vision did cross my mind. Hence why, like I said, it got tied into the destruction of the Rock, because he's trying to tell her, he's telling her there's more to it than he's telling you, and he's offering her the chance to sort of learn the full story from his point of view and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it could just be a little bit. See, the worry I have is that the idea of her, I've got to go and get Finn, is totally Empire. It's a straight Empire.
Yeah.
It's a like for like. And I trust Rian Johnson to be a bit more adventurous.
Yeah. And
I think what sets her off is that she learns that Luke's kept some vital piece of information from her about how everything went down.
Right.
And so when she stands up when he's in the cave and she stands up, she's just seen something in the vision that's actually the full truth. And she realizes that he's not been entirely straight with her. Something, for example, like he's the reason Snoke is so powerful. Maybe he trained him.
Right. Could be this thing we discussed previously about how Snoke and Luke might be exactly the same mindset, that they both want to move more to a central discipline with the Force. They use both light and dark side. Luke's realised that leads to disaster. So even though he thinks it's the right way to conduct yourself as a Force user, he's decided to abstain. But Snoke's decided to go full tilt boogie with it and get his bad guy on.
Full tilt boogie. It's a planet just outside Acheron.
It's an outer rim.
Yeah. All right. So let's carry on with these theories.
Theories.
Yeah, they're all theories.
This is concrete, mate.
Till December 14th. That's all I've got. 14th in the UK. There we go. So I reckon there's more. I think it's about Rey won't appreciate being misled and being kind of having the wool pulled over her eyes. And I think that's what's going to send her off. Maybe even to the effect of Luke knew that her friends were in danger and kept it from her using the Force. And she finally learns that Finn is in danger. And she's angry at him and goes off to kind of to confront. I don't know. I've kind of lost my train of thought there, but I think what's going to set her off from Ahch-To is not a straightforward Empire like for like. Your friends are in trouble, go get them. I think it's she realizes that she's not going to get the whole truth from Luke, and she goes off in search of the other side of the story. And his line, "This is not going to end the way you think," is because she's going to learn something that's even worse than she thought. Or than he was, she's going to learn some horrible truth to end the film. Maybe that she's an experiment of Snoke's, something like that. Attempt, like we talked about before, an attempt to create a divergence in the Force. She doesn't have parents as a result, so she's been looking for her family for all these years, and it's it's been a waste of her time.
I think part of it will be certainly that she's going to learn that Luke knew where she was all along, because he had the Church of the Force there watching over her and making sure that she didn't escape that lifestyle, because she would become a problem.
Yeah,
possibly. If there's going to be sort of a reveal along those sort of lines, I think that's possibly one. I hadn't really thought that all the way through.
And I have another thought on the Kylo appearing in this in this scene. I don't think it's unreasonable within Star Wars, because it's all a bit wackadoo and Force vision heavy, to theorize that it's Third Act Kylo appearing to her in a vision of the destruction of the Jedi Temple.
Yeah.
So she's seeing a vision as explained by Luke, and she's seeing it kind of with him, almost like, like holding hands, like psychometry.
Yeah.
And as she's walking along, out the corner of her eye, she sees Kylo Ren holding out his hand to her, saying, "This is only half the story."
Mm-hmm.
And so she starts to,
push
over
back.
time, she pushes back initially, but then maybe while she's meditating alone in that cave, he comes back to her and shows her the truth. And she learned, like I say, some truth that Luke has known and kept from her. Like I say, that she doesn't have parents, that maybe Luke inadvertently killed her family. Something like that. He may, it goes beyond failure to stop Kylo Ren from falling to the dark side. He actually caused, maybe a flash of anger destroyed the part of the temple, and it was Luke. It wasn't Ben.
Yeah, we have heard
Ben destroyed it all. He didn't kill, he didn't kill people until later on, but he initiated it all by making Luke explode and destroy.
Yeah, we've heard that Luke does a bit of that in this movie, that he blows apart those little beehive dwellings.
Yeah. So this all kind of, for me, that could all tie together. It's, we start to see that actually Luke has, he's still got darkness in him because he's a son of Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's had that sort of dabbling in the past, and he's come out the other side of it, but it's still dominating his destiny.
What works more for me is I'll go down that path with you a certain way, but I don't really want to see Luke as fallible. I'd rather see her objection to Luke be based on his inaction rather than action. So if she learns that Luke was in a position where he could have done something to prevent X, Y, and Z,
Han's death,
and he didn't. Exactly, Han's death is a great case in point. But maybe her parents, maybe the entire school. Maybe he could have prevented Kylo's fall, whatever, or Snoke's uprising. It's more of an inaction on Luke's part than actions that he took. I don't want to see Luke as being too fallible. I'd rather see him as being flawed. We've seen that before with Obi-Wan. I'll accept Luke in the image of Obi-Wan in this movie, that he's made some mistakes. And some of it was overconfidence, some of it was he put too much faith in the wrong person. But I don't want to see him as deeply flawed and lead into a high price like that. Here's
another thought, actually. So this doesn't. The only thing is, this doesn't quite tie in with the dialogue in the trailer. But I saw a really nice fan theory on Reddit earlier. I was doing so well at staying dark on fan theories because I wanted to come into it and just present every theory I'd had as my own and only my own. But I've been bad I've lapsed into it last couple of days into looking at the usual sources. And one person had a nice theory, which was that Ben destroyed the Academy by accident, and Luke sent him into exile, and actually Snoke just picked up almost, for lack of a better expression, a free agent.
Okay.
It wasn't about Snoke tempting Ben away. It was that Ben had nowhere else to go, and Snoke took him in and nurtured him kind of in his power, because there was nowhere else for Ben to go, because Luke had actually become scared of it all, despite his assertions to the contrary. He was actually, scared into action, and what his action was to abandon his nephew and to sort of send him away from the Academy because he'd burned it to the ground. And maybe Snoke picked him up and kind of took him in.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the truth that, that's the truth that Rey learns that Luke wouldn't tell her.
Oh, that's a nice setup as well. Why didn't you tell me the truth?
Yeah. That's because didn't want you to know that I was, maybe like you say, I didn't want you to know that I could make mistakes.
But
you need me to. Yeah,
Luke's answer would be, "There's only one truth. It's time for the Jedi to end." That's, why haven't you told me the truth? There is only one truth. It's time for the Jedi to end. So,
what if the Jedi ending, when he says it's time for the Jedi to end, he's gone a bit stir crazy before this point, before Force Awakens, before Bloodline, and he burns the Academy down and blames Ben.
Oh, I mean that's the whole thing I want to avoid seeing in Luke on steroids. That's going.
But I think the fact that there's so much kind of marketing material presenting him as this sort of, equal parts hero and antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what you're dealing with. I don't think you're dealing with something as clear cut as Luke is a double agent playing both sides. I think you're dealing with Luke is on the side of good, but he's not perfect.
Yeah, I exactly think that's where this film is going to have its roots. I think it's going to be that Luke has found that the exact place to be as a Force user is in the middle.
Yeah, but I think that in order to get there, he's had to make mistakes. And like I say, I'm kind of, my feeling now is that there's something he hasn't told Rey, and that's something that he refuses to tell Rey that she finds out possibly through Kylo. Like I say, maybe in a Force vision, maybe he becomes more tangible as the story goes on. As she becomes more powerful, she starts to see him more clearly, and eventually he's able to actually interact with her within these visions. So, she then finds out that there's a part of this story that Luke has been keeping from her, and it's enough to send her to Snoke. Or it might be that, he's kept the knowledge that Snoke killed her family from her because he knows that she'll go off and try and attack him.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not going to go the way you think.
Once you start going down,
you're not going to win. He's incredible. He's too powerful. You're not going to win. This is not going to go the way you think.
I think that sentence says everything. It's not going to go the way we think.
Maybe he's talking to us.
Probably half of the stuff we've said this evening is going to be fun.
Oh, of course. I mean, not all of it can be true by definition, right? Somebody has to be wrong in these things.
Usually me, so don't worry.
No, I don't know about that.
Mind you, I remember, Mark, you dug up one of your old Kessel runs when you did the predictions for TFA, and you said you'd actually backtracked a bit and looked at when I think you got like 2 hits out of 10, and I didn't. I think about minus 11 hits out of 10. So,
I think
two's a pretty good success rate for us. I think
it's a misdirect, and I think it's a Star Trek film. It's like, no, Paul, no.
Yeah. This is an episode of Deep Space Nine. It's the one I got right was that Kylo Ren was the son of Han and Leia.
Yes,
that was one of the big ones. I don't think we got many answers.
You did well in the Movie Geeks Film Newscast that went on before that point, based on the trailer. I remember thinking at the time how much you actually nailed.
Yeah, so
early on in the game.
Yeah, we did land a few scores, I think, back then.
Movie scores.
But yeah. It's this trailer I think is great for what it does for us in terms of giving us ideas. In terms
doesn't tell us much.
Doesn't tell us anything, but we can plant some of these because of the look of Rey and because of the design.
Really good shot.
It's a great shot.
It's a brilliant shot.
It's beautiful. Seriously,
this is Rey on the rock.
That's a painting, man.
She's looking heartbroken, right? No, I think this
because Luke's stopping her training.
Oh my God! Stop that. Go back. Look at the cloud formation, top right-hand corner. That almost looks like 2 eyes and a nose and a cheek.
Jar Jar lives.
That's very strange.
Top left. Jar Jar in the clouds. Jar Jar confirmed.
Yeah, Jar Jar confirmed.
Top right.
No, there's a Gungan in the top left as well, though. So you can play that game.
Misa no seeing it. No. Right, should we? Have we got any more thoughts on the trailer before we go? Because I want to try and get over to some of the listener comms that relates to this trailer.
I think we could always come back with more stuff later, can't we? I'm sure we're going to have more thoughts on this later on.
Oh, for weeks, mate, until the film comes out.
Exactly.
That's the thing. They've been very clever, giving you another perfect, palate quencher, for want of a better word. Not quencher, but
got all the right set piece
you're drooling now more than ever. I was really worried about your general health and safety, actually, Mark, and stuff. I'd actually put a thing out there. I wondered if you were still with us and so on. So it's punchy, it's clever, it's subtle, it's very misdirecting in the right way.
Yeah,
hats off.
I do have one
things together. Did a really good job.
One more thing, much like a Steve Jobs style. Just one more thing.
Yeah,
the beginning. The first and last lines of this trailer, I think, are from the same scene. So when I first found you...
I saw raw untamed power.
And beyond that, something truly special. I think he's talking to Rey, and I think that exchange is a reveal there's going to be a reveal in that exchange, in that scene, about where she comes from, what she is, and why she's important.
But I don't think that the line, I need someone to show me my place in all this, is Rey talking to Snoke.
Sorry. That's the penultimate line.
Oh, fulfill your destiny. Yes.
Yeah, so I think the first line and the penultimate line, sorry, I forgot about the other line.
Mm-hmm.
First line and the penultimate line are from the same scene, and he's talking to Rey in both.
Okay.
That's my feeling.
I think that's a very valid position. Yeah. I have this issue sometimes where I get an idea and I get set on it. I marry it, and this, to me, that line from Snoke feels very much to me like when I found you, I saw raw untamed power beyond something truly special. I can't get past that being him talking to Kylo.
Maybe, unless that's part of his dress. That could be part of his dressing down.
Exactly. That's what I think it is. Because
you're not living up to any of it.
Yeah, because he's
like,
already said
mate?
You can't make a sculptor makes a masterpiece from great materials. To Snoke, Ben is a great raw material for him to use to create.
That's not in the film, though.
No, but it's
that
still
line
canon.
It's missing. Yeah, but it's missing. You rely on that. I don't think they're going to rely on stuff
I am relying on it.
You can. That's fine.
Yeah, but because it's canon, so I understand Snoke's motivations. I doubt very much that Ryan would retcon that motivation out of the materials just because it made a final cut of the movie, of The Force Awakens. But to me, it suggests that Snoke is his attempt to build something special required somebody like Kylo Ren or somebody like Ben Solo. And I believe somebody like Ben Solo is Rey.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's playing. We've talked about before, way back when, that he's playing the long game.
Yeah, I think,
and that she's always been the one he's after.
This line to him is, "When I found you, I wanted to craft this masterpiece from you, and you failed me. I can't do that now. Bring me the girl." And I think that's motivation enough for Kylo to think, "Oh no, I'm being supplanted by this girl, so I can do one of two things." I can get rid of her, or I can get rid of him.
Bring her on side. Yeah, bring her on side and get rid of him. Yeah, possibly.
And possibly for him, the best option, if he gets rid of her, he remains number two. But if he can flip her, they can take Snoke down. He becomes number one, gets rid of his tormentor, and then he can craft something quality out of Rey. And I think she's the yin to his yang.
Yeah. So, I mean, the other possibility is that he decides that the way he's not going to, he comes to the conclusion he's not going to beat her at this stage in a raw strength contest because she's got this kind of unnatural, talent in the Force. So maybe he starts getting in her head, and he realizes that the only way he's going to stop her from getting any more powerful is to sever her ties to Luke. Yeah. So he starts to, so maybe the idea of him turning up in Force visions, trying to sort of steer her away, propagandizing or making it clear that she's kind of being subject to propaganda at the moment, might be the way he gets round that whole she's only going to get more powerful kind of conundrum.
Yeah. Great stuff. Paul, you got any final thoughts before we move on to listener?
No, like emails? I said, I think they've done a very good job of giving a beautiful cocktail of imagery and depth.
Yeah.
It's got the candy, it's got a sinister element to it, and it's got enough for you to go, what is actually going on there?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Ultimately, we're not going to know for sure. Nobody's going to know for sure until December 14th.
Yeah, and even then, I'm sure some of it will be open to interpretation.
Yeah, I think, but the important points from the trailer are going to be explained away. Like, is the Leia Kylo thing the same scene? Is the Rey Kylo thing the same scene? That sort of thing.
And I
think those things are going to be made clearer on December. That's until December 14th. There's no way to know for sure.
No.
There's all sorts of ways to make it, because one of the things Joe pointed out was in this VIP chat was that there are ways to to kind of account for the composition differences between the two scenes, but knowing that, there's also ways to make it look like the same scene when it's not.
Yes, and if you are cutting if you are cutting two disparate elements together, you will colour time those so that they complement each other, whether that's to deceive or whether it's just so that this thing works on its own as a standalone piece of material. You know, it might be that they've colour timed Rey to look like she's in a scene that complements.
Yeah,
Kylo's,
so she might actually be in that, she might be in that cave, and the lighting is done in a way
that's
that
where I think
makes
she
her
is.
look. Yeah, I think you're right. I think
it's
she's
Act
on
One. It's Act 1 Rey, and it's Act 3 Kylo. So that's
my feeling too.
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if I'm right, that's Act 1 Rey, but to me, it certainly seems that it is.
Seems likely. I think at the very least, it's not Act 3 Rey.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
Maybe it's Arcto Rey.
Maybe it is. All right, let's jump into some emails. We can kick a few of these around.
I just showed you who Ben's trying to convince.
The Porg.
Yeah.
Of course it is. All right, we had an email from Mark S. Mark says, the Last Jedi trailer is amazing. I had a few thoughts and wondered what you gents think. When Luke says he saw the raw strength only once before, it didn't scare me enough then. Most think he's talking about Kylo Ren. Mm-hmm. And he could be referring to his conversation with Yoda when he says, I'm not afraid, and Yoda replies, you will be.
You will be.
When Yoda says that he is talking about Darth Vader, when Yoda says that he was talking about Darth Vader and Palpatine.
When Yoda says that, he was talking about Darth Vader and Palpatine.
I fell foul of the missing punctuation. I would think it was Palpatine, considering what happened when Yoda confronted him, and the fact that Palpatine had more raw power than Vader. Again, it's that raw power. In the final scene of the trailer, it appears Rey turns to Kylo for help. If this is the case, I don't think Rey would turn to the dark side, so maybe Kylo's returned to the light. Okay, I've got something to say on that. We see he is still feeling the pull of the light when he attempts to kill Leia on the space station, in the space battle. Also, if Rey does look to Kylo for help, I think it means Luke is out of the picture. Either he has died or decided he can't handle it all and run away again. So breakdown is Yoda's warning of you will be about Vader and Palpatine, deliberate this time, or about Ben Solo, or maybe even Rey. So does this tie back to Yoda's warning in Empire when Luke says, I'm not afraid, you will be?
I think it's absolutely Palpatine and Vader, or at the very least, it's the increase in skill in the Force, because they're talking about his training. They're not talking about fighting Vader at that point. Yeah, I won't fail you. I'm not afraid. He's not talking about fighting Vader. He's talking about training to be a Jedi. Yeah,
he's talking about the next few steps you take.
I think he's talking about the dark side tree.
Yeah. I think he's talking about
that challenge.
Yeah, potential, the responsibility, the temptations, all of those things. I think that's what Yoda's laying out everything for him. You know, what you're about to embark on is terrifying. If you're not afraid of it, you don't appreciate what you're getting into. Yeah,
exactly.
I think that's the crux of the line.
Yes,
actually.
Yes, absolutely.
Be brave, but still be afraid. They're two quite different situations.
And and in a way, this does call back, probably inadvertently, with Luke's line. I wasn't scared of this enough before. I am now. So I didn't. You know, he lost sight of the teaching from Yoda. Go out there. It is terrifying, but be brave and apply what you know, and you'll be fine. Yeah, but treat it with respect. And Luke didn't do that when he was confronted with the emerging power in Kylo Ren or in Ben Solo, and
maybe the lust for power,
and for Ben and for Luke, being ignorant or maybe having too much faith in his nephew's abilities led to his downfall, and Luke should have been a little bit more cautious and perhaps treated Kylo Ren with the gravity that he deserved, or Ben Solo with the gravity that he deserved to be treated with. Second part of the breakdown from Mark's question, who is Luke referring to in this trailer? Who is Rey addressing when asking for help? So we've kind of discussed some of this in the breakdown.
Yeah, in some depth already. So
I think Luke is talking about Ben Solo when he's talking about the raw power.
Yep.
And I wholeheartedly believe that Rey is addressing Luke asking for help, not Kylo Ren.
Yes.
Even though I do believe the Kylo Ren element might be reaching out to Rey. But
not in that
I'm wondering if he's not reaching out to assist. I wonder if he's reaching out for help.
I think it's a help me help you moment.
Yeah, no,
maybe.
It'd be a bit more intriguing if he's putting a hand out to say, "Help me for crying."
Exactly.
Exactly. Saying it,
exactly. I think that's exactly it, Paul. I think he's saying, "You're the only person that can come with me and stop this. You're the only person that can come with me." Now, I don't think his motivations are entirely altruistic.
Genuine.
I think he's like, "I need to remove Snoke. You can help me do that." And if you come with me and do that, you might find the place might find what you're trying to get to. But help me get rid of this guy, and we can apply our own form of order. It's that same thing. It's been echoing through Star Wars, through 6 films already.
Yeah.
With Kylo, I think that's what he's doing. I think he's saying, I'm going to reignite this Sith rule thing. I'm going to get rid of him before he gets rid of me, and you're going to help me do it. So come with me, help me. Otherwise, I'm going to have to kill you.
Yeah, could also be that she's kind of fled Ahch-To because, like say, there's this kind of end of second act, third act reveal that makes her lose faith in Luke. She flees Ahch-To, encounters Ben, and says, I don't know who I can trust. I can't trust anybody, all that stuff. And he's like, he's almost like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna take you down the wrong path, but at least I'm honest.
Yeah.
It might be that kind of attitude he's kind of exhibiting there. It's like, you can trust me to be dishonest, like the Pirates of the Caribbean thing.
Yeah.
Dishonest man, you can always trust to be dishonest.
Yeah. Now, I think he's probably, everything you just said, I think Kylo's going to play on this moment. I've just scrubbed back through to Rey on the rock just after Luke said, I'm scared.
Mm-hmm.
She's disillusioned with Luke.
Yes.
Daisy said that. Be careful to meet your mentor. She thinks she's going to rock up and she thinks she's going to meet this great Jedi master. And what she meets is this man going, whoa, you got to do one because you are too powerful. And I've seen where this goes. She's disillusioned with Luke. This already started from the off. This is Force Awakens Rey. First act Rey. She knows, she's already seeing Luke and thinking, you're not the guy. When I saw you in the white robes, right, you look a little bit like a BG, but I did think that you were like Gandalf the Grey. You were this thing I'd expected you to be, this hero. Yeah. You ended the tyranny of the Sith, and now you're saying you're scared of a little girl because she can put a crack in a pavement. This is, I think, the disillusionment. She's starting to think,
maybe he's not the path. Maybe he's not the guy who can help me do what I need to do.
That plea, I need someone to show me my place in all this. I don't think that's you. That's the end of that sentence, right? That's the subtext. I need someone to show me my place in this. I thought that was you, and now I don't know if you're up to the task.
Right.
She's thought she was going to see a Jedi Master. That's a great illustration, Paul.
I think that's more... I don't know. I still think that bit, that is her trying to convince him to train her in the first place, whereas I think this shot of her looking dejected is because the training started and it stopped. Because, it's gone beyond I'm training somebody to be proficient in the Force. It's like I'm training a person with unnaturally raw strength.
Yeah.
Hopefully they explain why in this film.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'll be miffed.
To me, it feels like because of the way she looks, and I think it's kind of like Luke saying, well, all right, let's see what you got.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then she's like, the first thing she does is she breaks the island in half, and he's going, oh, no. I can't get into this again.
I've just hoovered.
Yeah. And that's why
the caretakers are going to take away my deposit.
I think she's gone from seeing a hero when she turns up and she passes the lightsaber over to seeing a coward when he walks away and says, nope, I'm not doing this.
Yeah. And then I say, when he's changed his outfit when she comes out of the cave, I don't know, maybe he's not changed his outfit from this bit, but when she's in the cave and she stands up and sees him, I think she's just... I think she's just been shown something that she wasn't expecting to see, and it causes a rift between them because it's some sort of reveal about the truth as Luke won't tell it, or Luke can't tell it because he can't face up to it. Like maybe he foresaw Han's death and did nothing about it, that sort of thing. Because obviously she's still probably going to still be quite sore on that because he was like a father figure.
I think there might be some of that. Yeah, I think there might be some of that. But I definitely think that at the heart of the relationship between these two is her expectation and the way that's cut by his caution. Mark, I think there is a bit of an echo there with the "you will be" line from Yoda, but I think it's more of
service.
Yeah, from the God seat now we can see that Luke should have learnt a lesson there about what it means to be courageous and cautious and respect the situation you're in, and he lost sight of that with Ben. That's the lesson he should have learnt from Yoda way back then. Maybe he didn't.
I think he gets dressed down by Yoda afterwards.
Maybe, yeah, because
Force Ghost.
We think he's in this. Who is Luke referring to in this trailer at the beginning?
I think it's Ben.
We think it's Ben. Paul, you think it might? There's a chance it might be the Sith, but it's.
I don't know. Yeah.
So just the words "raw strength."
Yeah.
Seem to me to be.
Let's tie in those two descriptors together, isn't it?
Yeah.
And who is Rey addressing, asking for help? I think that's probably most likely going to be Luke.
I think it has to be.
I think
that's early on in the film. That's her.
I'm not discounting the hand reaching out as being to Rey. I think that's still a thing.
That's still plausible, but I don't think it's in that context of simply. I can show you the world, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's much more. I think it's much more sinister than that. And like I say, the idea of him turning up in Force visions, I dig it.
It's very interesting. We are so concentrating on Kylo and Rey. We have no idea if there's a side story where he's trying to convince Finn over or Poe or something along those lines.
Yeah. It's to me,
it's unlikely. I know, but we are 99% concentrated on those two aspects. So I'm actually quite excited that it'd be something completely different now.
I think it's because of the way they compartmentalize these movies.
Of course, it's the way they did the edit as well. So,
all right.
That said, even without the edit, we would still be assuming same situations.
We would.
Yeah.
Mark, thank you very much for your email and your feedback. Paul, would you like to take Ian Jolliffe's question?
Absolutely. Okay.
Well, it's not really a question. It's actually just a comment.
It is actually just a statement, really, isn't it?
But I want Rob to be able to read Carlos.
Mark, in Talk Star Wars Daily, invited us to give us your thoughts on the trailer. Well, here are mine. Well, it's awful, obviously. Brilliant, obviously. I've watched it enough times that its images, dialogue, and soundtrack are looping in my head while I cycle to and from work. Well, that's kind of cool. Assuming there are multiple misdirects and Kylo literally doesn't kill Leia from his tie and Rey literally doesn't join Kylo on the dark side, it would be, for me, the most skillfully crafted trailers I've ever seen. All the best, Ian. Yeah,
can't disagree.
He's echoing, obviously, what we've said.
Can't disagree at all.
I mean, you asked for my overall outline of the trailer, and one of the first things is it's as clever as all can be, really.
Yeah.
I don't want to use a different word, but I'll go with all can be for this evening. Yeah. I mean, they did the same to a reasonable degree with TFA. So.
Yes, indeed.
Actually, no, they didn't. It was different. They planted stuff that didn't exist at all.
Yep.
And I think in this film we are going to see Luke's hand land very gently on R2's head. So stuff has been given to us previously in trailers, but it might be fed to us in a later movie, which is completely legal.
We had that in Force Awakens.
Yeah,
it was in the Force vision.
Yeah, but it's coming back, and I think what Paul's saying is it's flowing both ways, like with the shot on Octo of Luke and Rey and the exchange of the lightsaber. That's flying both ways. Okay, I'm conscious of the clock ticking because we're going very, very long this evening. So, do you want to take Carlos?
Yes. Okay. So Carlos writes, "Hey boys, so I watched the trailer live and recorded it on my PVR. I'm completely blown away. So many things to talk about. Luke is afraid of Rey's power. He seems shattered by it. Says he didn't fear it when he saw that power once before, but he does now. Is he talking about Kylo? The trailer tries to make that connection with the image of the burning academy. I'm not so sure. Is he talking about Palpatine, Snoke, Vader? Rey wants to be trained so badly. She needs help. We're made to believe she's asking Luke, but she's seemingly face-to-face with Kylo. Seemingly being the ultimate word there. We hear Kylo say, let the past die, kill it if you have to. That's the only way to become what you were meant to be. Is it in response to Rey? Finn confronts and battles Phasma. It happens. I like that we got to see that. I need someone to show me my place in all this. Rey to Kylo. I believe this is close to the end of the first act. She leaves with him and he brings her to meet Snoke. Snoke says, fulfill your destiny. He seems in pain. Is he beaten? Dying? Is it a final plea? The trailer opens on Snoke talking about seeing someone's power. On further review, I believe he's speaking to Rey. He tests her. A space battle. Yes. Kylo and his striker looks to be attacking Silencer, but never mind. Looks to be attacking Leia's ship, but hesitates to kill his past. Is he not taking his own advice, or is this where Leia meets her eventual demise? Chew on this. Have fun. Carlos Candido. Musician extraordinaire. That's my edit.
Yeah. So it's Luke's fear.
Right,
sorry, Rob. Go on. You did a breakdown.
Yeah. So he brings up an interesting point. We didn't theorize that it could be Snoke he didn't fear when he had the chance. Now, theoretically, if you saw somebody who's frail and old and disfigured,
I was honestly going to put that out there, but I didn't go there.
You might be inclined to take pity on them, maybe not take them that seriously as a credible threat. Seems totally plausible. And yeah, I think
do we know if he was disfigured at that time?
I would imagine so, but I don't know that we've ever had it confirmed.
No,
they do seem like quite old scars.
Yeah. In relation to Kylo going down the trench, and there's the shot of him, Leia, him, Leia, him, Leia.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Bespin a little bit. Leia, hear me. And she was able to say, Luke, turn the ship around, and so on and so forth. So I'm wondering if there is a little bit of an inner communication.
Yeah,
it's not words necessarily, it's purely feeling. And I'm just wondering if he's hearing something and he's like, I can't do this twice.
Even if she just says Ben.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah.
I mean, you might even find that trench run happens to be one of the last scenes that he's a bad guy. It's hard to tell, isn't it? So
it's very hard to tell. But yeah, that's a really good point.
That's a great call.
They could have understandably, they would deliberately remove that dialogue if it's going on in their minds because it would give something really key away.
Yeah.
So that's entirely plausible. I like that. So what was the next bit? Who is Rey asking for help?
I jumped the gun enormously there.
Yeah, that's fine.
I know.
Who is Rey asking for help? We think it's Luke. Who is Kylo talking to when he says kill the past? I think that's Rey.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't know. See, this is the one thing this is one of the things I have the biggest issue with because hearing Kylo say those words felt to me like somebody had told him that. It's almost
he's
like
trying to reaffirm it.
A mantra almost.
Maybe.
I'm aware that some of the trailers for the Phantom Menace had those tone poem readings in that never made their way anywhere near the film or anywhere near the narrative even.
Remind me?
Darth Maul's fear. Fear attracts the fearful, the strong, the weak, the corrupt.
Oh, right.
Those tone poems that didn't make their way into the film in any way and they didn't really break into the narrative in any way. They were just out there as like promotional materials and they were fantastic little like cameo moments in those characters' evolution. I don't think that's the case here. I wish it was because this is a very it's very overt, this line. I think that's what Kylo is trying to do himself. Kill the past. If I kill my parents, they're the only thing drawing me back to the light side and I want to be this bad guy. He set his goal to become a version of Darth Vader to honour his grandfather. And that's because I think he's had so much pressure put on him through his life. Luke thought he was something special, become a great Jedi hero. He's the child of this Republic hero, Han Solo, and General Leia.
Another Republic hero,
Yeah, the leader of the rebellion. And obviously a front runner for the big job in the new
Bloodline
Republic. So I think he's lived in the long shadows of these giants for such a long time that he's suddenly found a way out to craft an identity for himself, and it involves destroying everything that he came from. So to me, this works much better if it's said to Kylo rather than by Kylo, and I can't imagine him having such an overt line to Rey.
Maybe,
it seems awkward.
Unless she's talking to him about her family, and he says, "Forget your family, kill the past."
Yeah,
and he's kind of convincing her to distance herself from her past.
Yeah. I guess it could. Well, I think I'm just having trouble imagining them having the time in the same place for this sort of an exchange.
Yeah, if they turn up on Ahch-To, maybe that
could be
rumored
that
scene
moment
that they, that maybe the Knights of Ren turn up, but they don't get into fights straight away.
Yeah.
So maybe Luke gets into a fight with the Knights of Ren because Kylo's about to touch on. Yeah, I'm still coming back to this idea that there's some truth that's being kept away that Luke is hiding, or unwilling to face up to, or putting a spin on. Maybe Kylo gets too close to it, and then Luke does this whole crush the Hutt move, and then the Knights of Ren take that as a sign of aggression, and the attack and the fight starts. That sort of thing could be played out, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tricky, isn't it?
It is.
What else we got? So then, who is Kylo? Yeah, so we did that one. Will Leia die in Kylo Ren's assault? I don't think so.
No, I think injury, but she's in the third act on Crate, so.
Yeah, unless the bit where he's debating whether or not to open fire is when they're trying to escape. Maybe they're trying to escape from Crate, trying to bug out at the end.
Do we know Crate's in the third act?
We assume so.
We're quite confident. Okay.
Yeah,
we're not 100% sure, but we're pretty confident.
Not 100%, but there's a lot of stuff that seems to suggest that it will be things like having seen Rey in the Jedi third act Jedi appearance. Rey, I don't know a better way to describe her, but Jedi Rey was on the Crate set, and Jedi Rey is on the Crate battle scene Lego set toy packaging. Now I know that they are
it's not a hard science,
but they're also it's no smoke without fire. So I'm willing to bet dollars to donuts that yes, the third act is going to be dominated by the battle on Crate, and that's where all our heroes will come back together, including John Boyega and Leia and Rey. I don't know about Luke. I'm not sure whether or not. I believe Luke's going to be there.
I think he stays. I think he stays on Ahch-To. I don't think he comes over. I don't think he comes back at all. I think she leaves him behind, and that's the last we see of him for episode 8. So he turns up in episode 9 because he's had a change of heart, probably brought on by Rey.
Right.
And I think that's when we don't see him in episode 8 for the rest of the film after that point on Ahch-To. Unless he comes in at the end to try and save her. If he turns up on the Supremacy.
Possible. I think that's what we're seeing with Kylo and the Stormtroopers going into the structure on Crate. I think that's him going in to get her potentially.
Maybe.
But the closest I can get right now is that Crate, I believe, will be third act. I think the car is the first act set piece.
Yep.
Then I think there's a whole bunch of character stuff on
Canto Bight, and
for Ahch-To, it's for Rey and Luke and that exploration of their story, and then Finn and Rose are off on their mission on Canto Bight, and you've got Poe trying to wrestle control of the Resistance in Leia's absence away from Amilyn Holdo because he's trying to get them back into action, not to collapse under the weight of the First Order, but to fight. And then I think the third act is that fight comes to them with full force on Crate, and Rey rushes off to play her part, and she gets swept up into the thing on the Supremacy, and unwittingly ends up facing off against Snoke.
Okay,
that's what I believe is the kind of framework for this movie. So yeah, will die in Kylo Ren's assault? No, because I think that assault is Act 1, and I think she makes it to Act 3.
Yeah, at least.
All right, Carlos, thank you, kind sir, for your email. Let's move on to James Weibel. Then we're getting close to wrapping up on the listener feedback, and we can make a decision about whether we plough on through a couple of news stories and then wrap up. So James says, "Oh my God!" Right now, I need to just preface this. James's email was about the same length as the script for The Last Jedi.
Wow!
It was a beast, and he really did break this down. So I'm not doing it any justice by just taking out a couple of little bits, but I wanted to get a couple of his thoughts into the show. But we didn't have time to dedicate. We're already 2 hours plus. Didn't have time to dedicate to all of it. So James says, "Oh my God, okay, breathe, just breathe, okay." So Kylo is standing in the factory in the first shot, and you can see AT-ATs and AT-STs all over the place. That same factory is where you see Finn and Phasma fighting. So that's a cool little insight. The first order outfit is where it also looks like the one we saw in the behind the scenes with Rose. So yes, this is Finn.
Hang on.
Undercover Finn.
Hang on. Mm-hmm. Weren't we saying that the ship was the same? The one that Phasma and Finn were fighting on was the same one she came in on? Because it can't be both, surely.
Was the same one that
in the teaser trailer she comes in on?
Phasma.
Yeah, I don't think that.
No,
think it can be both, can it?
That she walked into.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it could
I don't think it can be. Why can it? Why would she walk into a burning First Order ship? If
that's the Supremacy,
right,
and she arrives on a dreadnought and then boards the Supremacy. If Snoke's on the Supremacy, that's like the command ship. It's almost like the Death Star.
I'm not really seeing that.
No, that's fine. Personally. That's fine.
No.
I mean, it's not set in stone, obviously.
Oh no, of course. Obviously. Again, till December 14th, none of us know.
No,
we might all be wrong. It might be completely different to what any of us have said.
Yeah,
that's part of the fun.
It might end up being an episode of Rainbow.
Have you seen our track record?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
So then I jump forward into a little bit deeper into his email. And he says, then we get Snoke. The eyes seem to say he's not Sith. He's holding her up like he's trying to hurt her, the Rey. So she will fully unlock her powers. The whole a broken bone grows back stronger mentality. Maybe he's the one who Luke was talking about, raw power. Maybe he was at the Academy or the Temple and did this to little Rey when she exploded the Academy with the Force. Epic CGI, whatever the case. Yeah.
Okay, that's an interesting reach.
That doesn't hold up to Bloodline.
Does not to me. That does not up to any. I'm actually pretty convinced that Luke doesn't know who Rey is.
Yeah, no, I think that's valid. There's the Church of the Force. I would say is the one thing that would tie Rey and Luke together. If Lor San Tekka was there at the behest of Luke, but that doesn't necessarily have to be. Unless
Lor San Tekka's just on a mission to look for promising candidates.
Yep, or look for one in particular.
Yeah, maybe.
If it is a prophecy or, the promise of someone coming.
I wonder if, I don't know, there's a possibility, I suppose, that it both could be true and that Luke doesn't know who, he knows, he's met Rey before, but he doesn't know who she is in context because she's grown up now.
Yeah.
And maybe, like I say, I really feel like there's something to come that's going to cast Luke in a, there's going to be something more to he didn't just go into it. Maybe he didn't just go into exile. Yeah, maybe he didn't just go into exile because of Ben. Maybe there's something more to it, like he feels guilt about something else, like, inadvertently destroying something himself and maybe killing Rey's family. In which case, that would be the kind of thing where she would abandon him because she's trying to sort of find her place and she realised that he's responsible for her not having one.
Okay.
That the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing I mean.
Yep.
I don't know, but I'm not suggesting necessarily that that's the reveal.
No,
I feel like there's something coming in that regard.
I would apply the we don't need everything explained rule.
Sure.
To that kind of thing. Like we don't need Luke to be tied to her through the parents in any way, shape or form. She could just be a brand new player.
Yep. And actually, I would go as far as to say you don't necessarily need to know who her parents are. I don't think it matters.
No, because see, that's starting to coalesce a little bit more for me now that you've got Kylo Ren trying to destroy the family he came from because he wants to be adrift so he could lose himself to the dark side. And she is adrift and she wants to build these connections and adopt these relationships because she wants to become something else. So there are odds. They're coming to the same point from different directions, much like I believe Snoke and Luke came to the same point from different directions. Mm-hmm. And it's really up to them what they do with it once they've achieved it. Now, with Snoke, I think he's achieved whatever Luke was trying to achieve, and he's become this opulent, power-hungry ruler of the First Order. And with Luke, I think he's come to the same place as Snoke and decided, I'm going to stay here, I'm going to do nothing with it because no good can come of it. And with Kylo, it's like, I need to kill everything that grounds me so I can become this thing. And Rey's like, I am adrift and I need something to anchor myself to so that I can understand who I am. I need that connection, a third-party perspective. I need some interaction with somebody. So I think that there could be some resentment between those characters in a way. That's the kind of theme. It's less about who Rey's parents are. It's more about the fact that they were absent from her life that will inform who she is as she becomes a character.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Paul? Oh, Paul's just... Sorry, Paul's just BRB'd. I was just going to throw it over to him. That's all right.
While Paul's on his way back, I just want to throw something into the mix. Mm-hmm. Somebody pointed this out. I can't remember where, but actually, kill the past. It kind of holds you back from who you're going to be. Is actually kind of a Jedi thing,
right?
Because it's a forgoing of attachments and it's a removal of yourself from the emotional world
in an extreme way.
Yeah, but it's actually kind of more of a Jedi approach than a Sith one, because the Sith one is kind of keep everything around you that makes you feel powerful. To a point.
It is, but I think with the Sith, they want to keep a connection to the things, like they keep people around them, don't they? They keep lackeys, they keep servants, they have these connections, but there's no one there to pull them back from the brink.
No.
There's no one whispering no into their ears.
True.
With Kylo, I think that mantra, as Kylo would see it, would apply it to himself, is one of, these people can undo what you're trying to achieve.
Yeah. Because
all Mum's got to say is come back, and he will. He nearly did it with Han.
Yeah.
So I think that from that point of view, he's trying to achieve something through eradicating the people he cares about, that a true Sith would be able to just switch off that relationship and just say, I no longer care. I don't have to kill them or remove them. I can rise above them. Yeah, they're nothing to me.
Just a thought that's just occurred to me while we've been talking. There's no Hux in any of this.
No, not yet.
He's not turned up anywhere yet. No. Makes you wonder.
Behind the scenes.
Does he last long?
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility, isn't it? He could go out very, very quickly.
I
hope he doesn't.
I hope he doesn't. I think he's awesome.
But it could just be like he is kind of a
background character.
Yeah, he's like Admiral. He's like Captain Piet or Admiral Ozzel. Really, he's just there, sort of turning gears and making stuff happen.
Yeah, maybe he's more heavily involved in the fleet battles.
Yeah, and he'll be there when someone needs to bounce some exposition off of him as a character. He's there to facilitate things within the narrative, but there's nothing really interesting about him or compelling about him.
Not in comparison, certainly.
Yeah, so you can't.
He's not the one we're keen to find out about. But I just found it interesting that he's not in there anywhere, not even a passing shot.
No, well,
he's obviously in the film, because
when you look at the transcript, you've only got the key players, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's like he's obviously in the film because
Snoke, Rey, Luke, Kylo Ren, Snoke, Rey, Luke. It's there's very little other. Oh, what am I doing? Very little other interactions in that trailer. All right, I think we need to make a decision about whether or not we're going to bring Steve back. So I'm just going to fire Steve a message and see if he wants to come back in for a little bit of news. If you'd like to support what we do here at Talk Star Wars, then head to patreon.com/Talk Star Wars and become a patron. Your support will help us as we expand our programming to include further shows, and in return, you'll get access to an exclusive VIP Facebook group, a monthly prize draw, weekly Facebook live sessions, priority release podcasts, an exclusive daily podcast, and a whole lot more. Head to patreon.com/Talk Star Wars today and become a TSW patron.
I'm going to also kind of answer the question about could it have been Rey? No, I don't think she destroyed the Academy. I don't think she was on the Academy at the Academy. I don't think she was anywhere near it.
No.
When it blew.
No, I don't think so. I think she's on at that point.
She's already on Jakku.
She's already on Jakku.
Been there for a few years.
Yeah. And Han's already told us who brought the school down, and that was Ben.
Yeah, he destroyed it all.
And he's a reliable narrator. It's not like we can't distrust what he says. He's laid that all out for us, and it's set it framed the Kylo Ren character for us. So it's definitely. I don't. She was not a part of that. I don't think.
No.
Okay, Paul, you're saying Steve won't be available. It's too late, isn't it? Really. Paul, are you back? You're on mute.
I'm on mute. Sorry, I'm on mute.
Yeah, are you back with us now?
I pinged him 1-to-1, but I don't know if he'll be available now.
Okay, not to worry. All right, we'll just move on without him then. I just think I want to just say thank you to everybody that took the time to email us your thoughts about the trailer. It's been very thought-provoking. I really look forward to breaking this down with you guys all week, and I've thoroughly enjoyed going through this trailer. I still think we've only scratched at the surface. I think there's plenty more idea that we can come back to later. And as we've watched it privately, we can come back to the conversation. I'm sure that people will be firing us emails in the weeks to come about new revelations, maybe even things that come out in TV spots and what have you. What I'm going to do, guys, is we're going to get into some news, but I'm conscious of how long we're running. So I think we might just skip through and just touch on a couple of these interesting bits. And ditch some of the other stuff, and maybe I'll roll it over to next week. But I'm sure there'll be more exciting stuff this week. So, what I'd like to do really is we spoke about The Last Jedi plenty this evening. So let's move on to some Han Solo stuff, just so there's a little bit of other news items in this episode. So, Ron has been tweeting again. A storm.
That boy. He does
storm.
That.
Yeah.
So he's fired out a tweet saying, spending more time in the editing rooms each day
someone called Harry,
after we wrap shooting with the bloke named Harry. Second name Krishna. This is, I believe, taken somewhat out of context. Spending more time in the editing rooms each day now after we wrap shooting for the day.
Yeah.
We wrap shooting Han Solo scenes. I think what Ron's doing is he's squishing all the production schedules together now. I think he's both in
blending a bit of post-production in
absolutely
afterwards as well.
It's the way I think that's sensible. The way Kevin Smith handles his work at the end of every day he edits together what he does.
Yeah.
Obviously this is a much bigger production than a Kevin Smith movie, but
hope he's not listening.
That's what I think Ron's...
I don't think he'd dispute that.
No, I think he'd be on board with that.
Yeah.
I think this is what Ron is saying. But Ron, there was a follow-up tweet. Somebody tweeted at Ron and said, well, does this mean you're close to finishing? And he said, well, yes, we are. We're coming to the end now, but we have got a very long post-production schedule.
Yeah.
Lots more fun to have, or lots more adventures to have in that. So that kind of... I think is a hint that we might get a delay in the release of this film.
Okay.
Because they're just moving into
post
proper. So they're going to be focusing on the edit. There's not a lot of time between now. Look how much time they've had with The Last Jedi to hone this thing.
Was it due in May?
It's due in May.
Yeah. A quick roundtable. Sorry, Robcast. I'm taking your thing. Would anybody be dismayed if it slipped to December?
No, I'd love it. I want that. I want that to be a thing for two reasons. I love the December release cycle.
Yep,
absolutely love it. And also, I think that Ron deserves the time. He's taken plenty of time over the production of this film. Now he deserves the time to spend refining this film, and that extra few months will help do that. Even if he's complete by September and that film just sits still until December, I'm cool with that. It will help him refine the movie, and also it'll close the gap between the Han Solo release and the Episode 9 release.
Yeah.
There'll only be a year. So, makes sense to me. Paul?
No.
You don't want it to happen?
No. I want this in May.
You want to eat all your goodies up front?
Yeah. I've got nothing to add to it. I just want to see this in May.
Well, at the moment, that's what you're getting. So there's no
it's not
official
unknown
word.
for them to pull in, to pull in. I mean, they've got to do the soundtrack elements. We don't know how far they are with that.
Yeah.
The sound elements have got to be, the Foley guys could be doing their work at the same time, etc., etc. They can't do that until they've got an edit to run with. So that is interesting in itself. Then they have to splice together the score.
Might need ADR.
Definitely.
I can almost guarantee it'll need ADR with the studios, the sets they've been using. Yeah.
They'll absolutely need ADR.
That said, we've seen other epics that have left it to 3 weeks before. They're still putting in elements and so on and so forth. They can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, they've got 5 months to cut it together. They can do that, no problem.
Yeah, it's not like Lucasfilm are short of resources ultimately.
No, I mean, crikey, they'd probably have an edit by the end of November if they wanted to. Then it's just a case of getting the post-production stuff sorted. And the thing is, it could take them 4 to 6 weeks in getting. I'm assuming they're well on the way to getting their advertising planned.
Yeah, I mean that P&A stuff all takes place simultaneously, doesn't it?
But you need certain elements obviously shot and coloured and sorted and so on before you can actually start building your stands and getting your shots out and goodness knows what else. So
yeah,
the more you think about it, say it out loud, the tighter May looks actually.
Yeah, when you look at what they did with The Last Jedi, there was only one in April. There was only one image, right? There was one poster that went out there, and then the cascade down from there is things like toy packaging and all those other pieces of key art that start to leak out in ancillary marketing streams like toys and fast food restaurant tie-ins and stuff like that. That won't be until later on. I think it is a short window of time, and yes, you can turn around a film a hell of a lot quicker, but not one that's come off of the back foot as much as this film has. It's not started from a strong position.
No.
And if it had gotten off the blocks nice and slick, I would say, even if they were still in principal photography now, I'd say it had a better chance of making it through and getting a release in May. But because it had such a tumultuous first third of its production, now I think that they would be wise to sort of push back, give themselves enough time so that they can really focus on it. Things like we're saying, they can turn around ADR. There's ADR work is still performance. It's still bringing the principals in and trying to Ron redirecting them in a scene to try and capture that performance again, when that performance is being drowned out by pyrotechnics or
plus it has to be.
They can do 2 to 4 weeks of colour rendering.
Yeah.
Plus
it all has to be scheduled. If they're bringing in principals, it all has to work around their schedules as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's the thing like you said, Paul, the colour timing and that can be done remotely by a separate team.
True.
And Ron might drop in every day and sort of touch base and say, well, where are we? And they'll deliver a bunch of rushes.
They'll just use second and third unit directors for some of that stuff as well. So.
They'll do that, but there's a singular vision here, and that he needs to sign off on every decision made. The second unit director will be out there getting the B-roll stuff for Ron that doesn't involve the principals, that's the crowd reactions, that's the deep background stuff. That's fine. But Ron will need to sign off on all of these big decisions. You might find that one of the producers might be able to say that's fine and give it the thumbs up.
Yeah.
With things like colour timing and Foley and that sort of thing. But Ron's going to need, I think, more time in post with things like ADR, where the principals come in, any pickups that might still be outstanding once he gets his rough cut together. There's a lot still to be done. And even if they keep up the pace they've had so far, they're going hell for leather. I still think it's a really small window of time to do all of this stuff. It's
very tight. Paul's absolutely right that it can be done, but it's incredibly tight.
Yeah. Should it be?
Yeah, that's it. Do you want to just do it because you can, or do you want to take the time and give Ron a chance to do it the way? Maybe it's down to him. Maybe he just needs to say, "I need more time," or "I want more time," and they'll give it to him. But maybe he's not. Maybe he's not being firm on that yet.
Well, I believe it's already a done deal. I think that he's already said, "I'll do this, but I'm not going to make May." And I think that Kathy and Disney have said, "Fine, We'll give whatever you need, but right now we can't make that public. Because right now, if they make any indication in that direction, people are going to say, see how troubled this is? And then you start rattling investors again.
Damned if they don't now, aren't they?
Yeah, some clickbait based on that.
If they wait a little while and we get closer to The Last Jedi, when everyone's looking off over there going, look, Last Jedi, Kathy can sort of say, we're pushing it back to May. We're pushing it. She can use that to sort of spin it positively. And when everyone's excited and at fever pitch for The Last Jedi, she can say, we've made the decision to give this director the space he needs, the room he needs to really craft a beautiful film for you, the fans. And not like, we crapped the bed on this thing and now we're trying to claw back some space within which to work. They're the same thing, but they're very, very different positions to project. Kathy's going to wait. If they're going to do this at all, she's going to wait until we're at fever pitch for Last Jedi and say, we've decided we're so excited about what's happening with Han Solo, we're going to give it more time, we're pushing it back to December. Everyone will be fine with it then, because no one will be looking at Han Solo thinking, God, you're still in trouble, aren't you? Go on, let's see the next sign of a cock-up. They need a win.
I won't be cynical on it, but I will be disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, I understand how exciting it is to have another Star Wars film in just a few months.
Then you got 18 months to wait for the next one,
which is the problem. But then we might end up with only another 5 months until the next one. So and then they'll be back on a yearly cycle. So do you see what I mean? There are pros and cons for this. Yes, we're going to have to wait longer for more Star Wars, but the Star Wars we get at the end of it might be a much better film for it. And right now, I think the only reason they haven't made that public is because it's a publicity nightmare for them to do it when they're still trying to regain some confidence.
Yeah.
And like you said, keep it positive, but really have audience and investor faith in what they're doing. And another negative signal at the moment might not be great, but you can lose it in all the noise around The Last Jedi and say, we're doing this for the right reasons and we're doing it for you.
Yeah. And actually, at the moment, Star Wars is white hot because of all this Last Jedi trailer stuff and all the speculation around it, because obviously inevitably that happens. So you could easily dampen that enthusiasm by bringing out less than stellar news about a Star Wars property. So I think you're totally right.
All right. The other two tweets that Ron put out from the set of the untitled Han Solo movie this week was this beautiful shot of the Falcon. Am I still screen sharing? Can you see?
Yeah.
There's a beautiful screenshot of his monitor, the director's monitor, and the tag in the tweet says, turns out smuggling has its stressful moments in the galaxy. And it looks like somebody raiding the Falcon. Now, the Falcon, look how spiffingly clean the Falcon looks.
It is rather clean.
It's going to be a very different ship, in this movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's a really cool shot. I'm definitely reading this as an interloper who is armed raiding this, sneaking onto the ship.
Yeah.
And then the third tweet that came out from Ron as well was him and John Kasdan, one of the writers, huddled around a fire pit, which is inside an astromech, and Ron's revealed that it's a Corellian night, and they get a little chilly with him and John Kasdan keeping their hands warm around this thing. So they're on Corellia.
What do you think, Junkyard?
Yeah, I think most likely, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. It's a really great image, that. All right, last thing of the evening, and then we're going to wrap things up. And this is about Mark Hamill talking about Carrie at New York City Comic Con. Mm-hmm. Is it New York City Comic Con or is it just New York Comic Con?
New York Comic Con.
It's New York.
NYCC.
Right, okay, New York Comic Con. Yeah. So Mark says, you're going to really love her in The Last Jedi. I know they're going to try and find a way to close her story in episode 9 that gives her the respect she deserves. And because Han Solo was more prominent in 7 and Luke's a little more prominent in 8, Leia was certainly meant to be prominent in 9. And then he goes on to comment about the way Luke will be perceived in The Last Jedi. He says, no one wants to see a retread of Obi-Wan Kenobi. We've seen the benevolent Jedi Master training people. And when Luke says, I only know one truth, it's time for the Jedi to end, you haven't figured out what Luke's been doing for 30 years. How does the most optimistic character in all the movies get to that point? It won't be much longer until you find out. That was pre-trailer.
Oh, okay.
That statement.
Yeah.
So how does Luke end up going from optimistic to being this guy that says it's time for the Jedi to end? I think failing with Ben is the answer to that.
He let his father down because his reformed father, I should say. Mm-hmm. You know, we're all talking about the legacy of Darth Vader, and maybe that's not what was it. Obviously, Ben is taking it as what was intended, as spreading the sort of dark side of the Force around the galaxy and taking over and that sort of thing. But actually, maybe Luke has a better line on this because he can actually commune with Anakin Skywalker. Yes. So maybe he's become jaded because he's let his family legacy.
He's let it happen again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's let his legacy. He's let his father down because his father was maybe his father was warning him all the way through. You want to keep an eye on that kid. Yeah, because I know what he's kind of. He's basically like I was.
So instead of saying go to your room, he said go to Wakto.
Yeah.
Go on.
Go to your
find
island.
the first Jedi temple and think about what you did.
Go straight there. Don't read those books.
No pork flesh for you.
Any stops for drinks on the way. If I see any empty cups in your
no.
I'll turn this Force around.
By the way, I'm always watching.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, don't do that.
Scroll back up a touch.
Up, sorry.
Yeah, so just to make sure. I just wanted to make sure that I'd covered that last point. Mm-hmm. I had a thought about the Leia thing as well, actually.
Yes.
Maybe this would tie into the trailer quite nicely, actually. Maybe her prominent role in Episode 9 was that she was, haunting Ben Solo for the act of taking her life. That was going to be her that was going to be her role in Episode 9. Mm. She'd be prominent. She'd have a fair bit of screen time. She'd be there haunting him, trying to talk him round in his head, constantly not literally nagging at him, like clean your room, but there's ashes everywhere. More of a kind of always in his head, trying to kind of turn him, even though he's trying his best to escape his legacy. He's trying to sort of forge his own destiny, and she's still she's still kind of part of that. So maybe that could work.
Yeah, the other thing as well, we're hearing being more prominent, and she would have been a central character. It would have very much been her film, and I, for one, have been interpreting that as meaning more screen time for Carrie Fisher, but it doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. If you think about Harrison and his position on Han Solo for Return of the Jedi, he said, let's kill him. Let's kill him early on, and add a bit of weight to it, and then you'll be the rest of the film. You'll be thinking, God, if we've lost Han Solo, who's going to go next?
They'd better succeed, and they'd better succeed. Otherwise, it's all for nothing.
So Leia could have only been in a part of Episode 9, and the fact that she commits an act of self-sacrifice for the greater good could have been, that would have been huge, and she would have been prominent, and she would have been a bit like Obi-Wan Kenobi, would have been a huge presence in the film even after she'd gone.
Yeah.
So where I'd been thinking more prominent in 8 meant more screen time, not necessarily. It could have meant they used the screen time more effectively.
Yeah. Or she's thematically prominent.
Yes.
Without screen time.
Yeah. If she is what motivates Ben to make decisions, even in her absence.
I keep coming back to it. In Star Wars, being loose the mortal coil is not an obstacle to being on screen.
Very true.
So, and she's obviously got some presence in the Force because I'm sure, she's been taught some stuff, maybe so she can commune with Anakin. Because in the Legends, they had a section in Heir to the Empire where Leia would actually commune with Anakin Skywalker. And he was kind of saying, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I promise you I did, I did change at the end. And Luke's not, Luke's right. Luke was right about you were right about me. Luke was right about me, rather. And all that stuff, and she wouldn't hear a word of it. But that's not to say that in the ensuing 30 years of new canon, she might not have. He might have tried to commune with her again. It might have been more successful. She sort of understands that, yeah, he did change his ways at the end, but it doesn't excuse what he did in the past, hence Bloodline and all that stuff. So, they've left a big gap in that new canon because of obviously removing the Heir to the Empire stuff.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say, but I say if there's one franchise where not having corporeal form is not an obstacle to screen time and presence and prominence, it's Star Wars. And like I say, maybe Harry Potter. And to be fair, Casper. But, we're talking about franchises with bankability.
That's central to the premise.
Yeah.
Like Ghost.
And Ghost, actually.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap that up there before we descend into the talk ghosts. Have you got anything, guys? You got any last thoughts on this trailer before we wrap up for the evening?
One general thought.
Mm-hmm.
So I've noticed on social media, it's not been too bad considering, but I've noticed a little bit of people getting a little bit shirty with others because they don't see things the same way. And, I want to remind everybody that it's all subjective. It's all speculation. Nobody's going to know until December the 14th. Like I said, everything I've speculated on tonight might be completely wrong and I might be completely out of whack, but I also might have everything bang on. I think I've contradicted myself a couple of times in the course of this discussion. So there's a good possibility that I can't be 100% correct, but I might have something key right, but I might have I might have everything wrong. It's not worth losing friends over.
No, of course not.
That's all I will say is,
do you know what? We do this week in and week out, and we've been doing it for years. This speculation thing, I don't want to be right. I'm happy to be surprised, believe it or not, when I go into a film. I love dissecting this stuff. I love every new frame, every new costume design, every new ship design I can cast my eyes over. I love this stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm more than happy to be wrong because it means I've been surprised. And then when I come out of that theatre, I'm going to be thinking, I can't believe what I've just seen. If I know everything going through, because I've predicted everything right, I'm not going to enjoy it. I'm not going to enjoy it.
It's almost pedestrian.
It's almost pedestrian. Paul, any final thoughts before we go?
No, I think we've encapsulated how we feel, how excited we are, and what we might possibly think is ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we've nailed it. We've got absolutely everything right because we've given so many scenarios out. Some of them have got a hit.
Yeah, it's the 12-bore shotgun approach.
Absolutely. Let's just
gonna hit something. All right. Okay, everybody.
Spray and pray. That's our theorizing style.
It's an exciting time.
It's totally It's how we managed to talk for over 2 and a bit hours. For about 2 minutes of footage.
So glorious.
And like I say, it could all be complete misdirect and none of it's coherent and all that stuff. We just don't know.
Well, I've listened to an awful lot of these trailer breakdowns over the past couple of days. People that I enjoy listening to, great minds in the field, and I really think that we've added something fresh to the conversation. At least what I've heard over the past few days. I think that there are perspectives that I haven't heard anybody else share. Mm-hmm. So we're definitely adding something to the conversation. That might be completely wrong.
Sure.
But we've added something.
Remember when I was saying
everybody.
that Snoke might be a kind of political public figure on Canto Bight?
Mm.
I don't think that's true anymore.
Do you not?
No, I'd love it to be because I think it'd be brilliant. Like that kind of,
I think it is. I think that is the case. I think he's using Canto Bight and the people that frequent that location. I think he's using it to bankroll what he's doing.
I'm sure there's an element of it, but I liked the idea that they'd have to take a different tack. They couldn't just destroy him militarily. They'd have to destroy his credibility first.
Yeah.
To kind of cripple him financially that way. That's sort of an interesting take on it to me. Although it's a bit.
That's happening in this film. Yeah, I don't think that's happening in this movie. Not from what we're seeing so far.
Absolutely not. No, I agree. But this is the thing. It would be a different take. Would it be better or worse? Who's to say? Obviously, without seeing it, there's no way to be sure. But I'm pretty convinced I'm wrong about that now. But from this trailer, but I don't know. That comes back to the whole fun of this stuff. But like I say, just for goodness sake, keep it fun.
Yeah,
because like I say, none of it's a film about wizards in space, as a friend of mine is fond of saying. Yeah, it's not worth losing friends over. Nothing really is. Doesn't matter how serious you think the conversation is. Nothing's worth, falling out with loved ones over.
Don't know about that. I think you might want to ask Ben Solo, because I think he's got a pretty strong position on that subject.
Yeah, but he's not real.
What?
So yeah, sorry. There's a good place to end on.
I never did like Rob, Mark.
Destroy fun
and everything.
Welcome to Destroy Fun. I'm Rob.
Welcome to Fun Killers. Yeah. All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you for listening to Talk Star Wars again this week. You can support us and become a member of our wonderful Talk Star Wars community by becoming a patron. If you'd like to do that, head to patreon.com/Talk Star Wars, and you'll benefit from things like priority release podcasts, an exclusive daily podcast, an extensive global community of Star Wars fans in a Facebook group that's exclusive to our patrons. There's monthly prize giveaways, all sorts of wonderful stuff going on in there, all for just a couple of bucks every month. So it's patreon.com/Talk Star Wars, and join our community there. When we hit our goal, we'll be throwing more shows your way. Don't forget also, you can head to iTunes or Apple Podcasts, as they like to call themselves these days, and leave us a 5-star review, and we will level the Ron Burgundy guarantee at you. So whatever you write in there, we will read, as long as it's clean. So if you want to promote something like a blog or a podcast, that's a place to do it. It's not limited to that. Be creative. Whatever you want to do in there is fine. You can email us your questions and comments for the next episode to talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on one of our social channels like Twitter or Facebook or YouTube, which is becoming ever more vibrant, and Instagram, to name but a few. With that said, gentlemen, where can people find you between shows?
You'll find me on Facebook at Movie School News. You'll find me on Twitter at Movie School News. And guess what? You'll find me on the interweb at Movie School News.
And in Greg's buying Scotch eggs and pies.
No.
Oh, right. Lies. Rob?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RobWadeVision, and I am the senior editor of emotionally14.com, where you can find loads of geek stuff, podcasts, videos, the works.
When you say senior, is it because you're cool or you're just oldest?
I'm not oldest, so make it out what you will.
I'm kidding, darling.
I know.
Can I just have a quick shout out to Mr. David Bateman? I've actually had my first composer like my site this week.
Oh, my.
Nice. Well done.
That's always nice.
Congratulations, you. Go for that.
Lovely.
Hopefully he'll tell Williams and Vangelis and Zimmerman quite soon as well.
When they're all hanging out together.
And I'll forget you bums and go and do something real.
Maybe this time in a couple of years we'll be looking forward to the next Paul Fest rather than the next Star Wars movie.
Yeah, we've got something else quite cool coming along soon.
Yeah,
there'll be news on that very soon.
Hashtag Paul Fest.
You can find everything Stephen does, as if you care, at Wild About Nature on YouTube, and at Stephen.
He's at Punter Badger on Twitter.
Yeah, at Stephen_Ware on Twitter. And check out, is he still doing Happy Tats? I don't know. He's so infrequent on this podcast. So. I have no idea what he's doing. Maybe
he's changed it for sealclubbers.net.
Yeah, go there. Throw him a few quid. Help him club some seals. You can find everything I do at talkstarwars.co.uk, and I'm on Twitter at talkstarwars. Don't forget to head to starwarscommonwealth.com, which is the home of our network, where you can find other first-class Star Wars podcasts like Tumbling Saber, Generation X-Wing, Rogue Squadron podcast, the Skyhoppers podcast, the Nerd Room, and San Diego Sabres podcast radio. Fantastic shows, all worth your time, and you can get a full week of Star Wars programming just by heading there. You'll also find our show notes in the description, and there's a bunch of helpful links in there to our stores and what have you, if you want to go and buy some t-shirts or some other Star Wars related paraphernalia. All right, we're out of here until next week. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.
Talk Star Wars is a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Find us at starwarscommonwealth.com alongside
the Tumbling Saber Podcast,
the Generation X-Wing Podcast,
Rogue Squadron Podcast,
the Skyhoppers Podcast,
the TSW Roundtable,
the Nerd Room Podcast,
and San Diego Sabres Radio Podcast.
Head to starwarscommonwealth.com and take your first steps into a larger world.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.